We decided that here, in America, your America, we were going to build a place. A place where people like you want to be. And here at the American Mall, we know just where you belong. A place where you can find all the things that you need, America. We know where you come from, because right there, that's just where we come from too. We get things done. We build. We create. We like to kick back with a light beer at the end of a long day and put the kids to bed before heading right back out again. America never sleeps, and at all, neither do we, America. You deserve the things you like, in the way you want, just the way you remember. And we collected all those things in one place, so you know just where to find them. Here at the Mall, we take a heritage of yesterday and bring it together with a vision of tomorrow to create the today you wanted to wake up to tomorrow just yesterday. Because every today is just another yesterday's tomorrow, America.
Well, this is some kind of bullshit right here.
What am I even looking at? This whole place was rubble when we left. It was a crater. Am I remembering it wrong? I'm not crazy.
You are crazy, but you're not wrong. The mall was definitely bulldozed. So, what happened here?
Check out this creepy sign. It's just a bunch of weird statements about yesterday and tomorrow and America. It looks like someone rebuilt the mall.
It was never like this, though. Where's the grease? Where are the scum, the villains, the general air of despair? I'm getting no despair air.
Okay, so it's a little cleaner than the place we left, but look on the bright side. There's a sale on, from these confusingly worded posters. There's always a sale on...
And the corner meth dealer isn't anywhere nearby. Okay, I know, it's a bit of a mystery, but I know this much to be true. This, and nothing more than this. I don't know much, but this I do know.
Okay, I'll bite. What do you know?
It's the grand opening, and I'm sick of wandering around the backwoods of this nation on a vaguely explained road trip to nowhere. I want hot cinnamon rolls with overpriced coffee. I want them here, and I want them now. And I'd like a nice, comfy blankie to wrap myself in while I eat it and drink it.
This is so different, you guys. This is not it. They changed everything. It's not a dingy strip mall. This is a legit, real American mall with doors and an atrium and everything. Look, check out this handy map, guys. Apparently we're in the aquamarine zone, but if we head over that way to the teal zone, we can get to the food court.
So we either try to get to the bottom of this mystery, or we stop asking questions and get to some tasty snacks and beverages. Why am I still talking? Let's go!
I still have all of the recording. I must stress, it is really quite heavy.
So, grab one of those convenient shopping carts. Just put a quarter into the little slot to unchain one, you old badger.
But I don't have any coinage. You insisted on hurling my coin purse into a crevasse, simply because I kept referring to it as a coin purse.
That's legit.
Well, no shopping cart for you then. The rules are clearly posted. You can put those in your coin purse.
Yeah. There's a lesson in there for you somewhere if you think about it.
Less confusing, more consuming. Let's move, people.
Door seems acceptable.
This is nice. Calm lighting, soft music. This is actually civilized.
Yes, it's very nice.
What is it, Daniel?
The architecture, the strange corners, the angles that don't quite... There's just something off about this place.
Maybe you're right. Maybe we should just turn around. Oh my God, look!
Could it be? Do mine eyes deceive me?
It do could. They don't do. It's actually there, guys!
Okay, now I know there's something weird going on. How could that be there?
An actual video store. Just like it used to be, except not shitty. Come on, guys, we have to check it out. Look, it's the grand opening.
Video ho!
Who are you calling a hoe?
Oh, this will do very nicely. There's different aisles for all the genres. Remember how we used to organize films by weight?
I'll admit there were issues with our previous system of organization, but I still stand by it, damn it.
Oh, shut up. One end of the store was just Titanic.
We're home, everyone. Let's get our layers set up, and we're back in business. I was thinking this time we could get a really big door.
Yeah, of course you were.
Aha, we have customers. Places, everyone.
Welcome, travelers, to this our little video emporium, where everything is arranged in the most scientifically stringent and non-esoteric way for your convenience.
I saw them coming first, guys. See why it was a good idea to get these big old windows? You really gotta know your window situation.
Whoa, man, this is like, pretty groovy shit.
Welcome. Can I interest y'all in some non-alcoholic beverages? We have three different kinds of water. See if you can guess which one is slightly more alkaline, honey.
Speaking as a resident foreigner who is inexplicably part of the group, may I be the first to say, good day.
We have to get fucking out of here.
Retreat!
I nay.
We need to regroup. Find somewhere empty, desolate, and unwanted.
What kind of place would be deserted in here?
Look, a bookshop. Perfect.
Wait, what? What?
What the hell was all that? Those people. They look just like us.
It's wrong. Wrong in so many ways. I tell you, something is up.
We just need to figure out what's going on here, is all.
Guys, they looked uncanny, like they were from some sort of valley. Oh my, books everywhere. Oh guys, look at the books. Look at all the books. It's just so. Oh.
Hold that thought. This will do for our temporary accommodation. I hereby declare this a lair. Everyone, make yourself at home. We need to figure out who these sickening copycats are and what they are doing in what is clearly our video store.
I've been thinking.
A dangerous pastime.
I know. Look, someone is clearly working at some kind of deranged and unspeakable super science here. Obviously, these creatures are the product of science gone mad. Mad!
You mean...
That's right. Someone has created an unholy mockery of life in our own image.
If there's one thing I can't bear, it's mockery of any type, unholy or otherwise.
Hey, you know what? This actually reminds me of a movie, and wasn't it my turn to pick?
Oh, here we go again. Oh, God.
Is this really the time? I mean, look, bookshop. We could do another book club.
It is never not time to conclave. Quickly, everyone, break apart these comfortable furnishings, build a fire, and pile up some of these worthless volumes to serve as crude seats. We gather!
Wait!
Too late, Hope. It's conclave time.
Taking refuge in an unoccupied bookshop in a mysteriously rebuilt strip mall of the damned, glaring balefully across the aisle at a video store now occupied by freakish doppelgangers, the members of a secret society try to continue their work condemning the perverse and heretical, having nothing better to do on a Wednesday. To scrutinize those films which are rumored to drive viewers to madness and dissolution, draw closer, dear listener. Let your trembling ears sup upon the eldritch knowledge of the Cinemania Society.
We the fellows of the Lens Hall do convene to judge if this fine cinema worthy of our esteem, or whether it should be cast down as worthless hokum.
Let us start our present judgment.
We the fellows. Oh.
Welcome, fellow fleeing felons, to this conclave of the Cinemania Society. Please be seated. And welcome to our listeners, to whom I will now issue this warning. We, disciples of the Cinemania Society, have studied the mysteries of the motion picture and meditated upon the silver screen for many years. Therefore, we have become inured to the films we scrutinize, which may contain hazards unsuitable to young and sensitive ears. As such, we advise anyone listening to do so with discretion. Guard your ears carefully, lest you develop a severe and irreversible case of cinemania. Present at our conclave tonight are
Inquisitor Ethan, keeper of the lenses.
Scrutinizer Zachariah, guardian of the door.
Profligator Daniel, possessor of the word.
Auntie Hope, keeper of the books.
Professor Andrea, scholar of San Francisco.
and Verifier Andy, Master Illuminator. Not present at our conclave tonight is Arbiter Alessa, voice from the outer world, due to being in parts unknown and possibly lost in the parking lot. I am Verifier Andy. I will be serving as Pontifex of Presentment for tonight's subject of scrutiny, Frankenstein Unbound, a 1990 film directed by the late, great Roger Corman. Sorry, what was that?
Pontifex. It's pronounced Pontifex.
No,
Pontifex.
It's Pontifex.
No, it's Pontifex.
It's always been
Well,
Pontifex.
I
actually-
will die on this hill. It's Pontifex.
Look it up,
Then die.
motherfucker! Profligator Daniel shall act as Master Castigator for this conclave. Profligator Daniel, present the charges.
With pleasure. Charges for this film include John Hurt trying to look cool in the 90s. John Hurt trying to look cool in his 90s. Creature designs that look like someone shaved a Furby and added extra thumbs.
It's called a skin bee, thank you.
Criminal underuse of Raul Julia. Massive amounts of walking around. Trademark. Excessive Lord Byron. Insinuating that Mary Shelley was not, in fact, the godmother of science fiction. Driving a talking car without a license. I'll add some more later. Excessive influence from Star Trek The Next Generation. Possibly inspiring the Cybertruck. Ooh. Okay. Serious trigger warnings do include violence and gore.
A little bit of
Thank you.
nudity in there, too.
Like a nipple.
That's not really a trigger warning. That's just
Yeah,
R-rated.
that's- I guess.
That's PG-13 at best.
yeah.
As long as there's not more than 3.
Thank you, Profligator Daniel. Now, if you want to know about freakish abominations of science, you have to go back to the source, by which I mean Frankenstein. And he's unbound.
What does that even mean?
I'm with you on that one, Zach.
Oh, I think I saw a different film. That was Frankenstein Unzipped.
Oh.
Isn't it Zach who usually finds those films?
Not always.
I was going to say, can you send me a copy of that?
Remember that time when RoboCop shot Frankenstein in the dick? It's okay. They sewed it back on.
Frankenstein shot first.
Commence the reading.
So the film opens to a vaguely biological shots of various slimes and oozing stuff bubbling around to a classical soundtrack. So you know this is going to be a serious and arty film that deals with issues and stuff. Roger Corman was known for his grindhouse exploitation flicks, but he's making an effort here. He's got together actual proper actors and there's real music playing, so you know he's taking this seriously. There's not going to be deadly piranhas or death races or anything. This is practically art house.
I could use a death race in this movie.
I was going to say there might have been a death race or two in this movie, if I recall.
Yeah, you say that like it's a good thing.
I do.
It is.
Somewhere in the distant future, probably beyond even the year 2000, if you can imagine it, a lone figure crosses a desolate, icy waste. Einstein once said of the atomic bomb that if he knew what it would lead to, he would have been a watchmaker. And this wanderer is feeling the same way. Presumably, this was a dark warning about the horrors of atomic Rolexes that might have been. Turns out that this man is John Hurt, who has apparently wound up stuck on a glacier after the adventure we are about to witness. He looks exactly as haggard and weather-beaten as you'd expect someone who has been trudging through an icy hell to look. But this is John Hurt, so that's not really saying much.
No, it's pretty much a Tuesday for him.
Our old buddy John Hurt back again.
Well, he's not that old in this movie yet. He just, he's John Hurt, so he
just looks that way.
He was born at the age of 40.
His vocal cords were born at the age of 70.
No, it's because he started smoking around the same time as he started on solid food.
That was his solid food. Just chewing on filters.
They replaced his bottles with ashtrays.
It's flashback time to explain how the whole blasted ice hell came to be. John Hurt is playing our hero, Dr. Buchanan, who's been working on some kind of futuristic superweapon in the near future. Things seem pretty normal, except that there are strange reports in the news of things and people slipping through time for some reason.
Yeah, no big or anything.
No.
I love when they use news reports to give us the background, for news reports for exposition.
Dr. Buchanan feels that this is absolutely nothing to do with his experimental mega laser weapon. It's pure coincidence that while he's been testing the thing, weird rips in the fabric of space-time have been popping up. Why, he's merely a scientist looking to make the world a better place by devising terrifying weaponry that can change the face of war forever. It's a little unclear why he thinks this is such a great idea, but Dr. Buchanan is all in on the idea. Laser disintegrators, that's the answer. Diplomacy and treaties are for tree-hugging hippies. You don't need to worry about UN resolutions when your enemy is a smoking hole in the ground. Peace in our time, or at least sometime. More on that later.
Time.
Yeah. Doctor Who, timey-wimey, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about UN resolutions when the UN is a smoking hole in the ground.
The whole general mishmash.
He must have found Nikola Tesla's lost notes, the ones that were confiscated by the Pentagon.
Oh, yeah. That's a real thing.
Dr. Buchanan demonstrates his particle beam eliminator weapon to an impressed military contingent and once again laughs off the terrifying rips in space appearing in the atmosphere as just a temporary side effect and definitely no big deal. But once the demonstration is over, he admits to a science buddy that it's totally a big deal. And if he doesn't figure out how to stop these rips in time, then it's the end of the world. Still, at least he secured another round of funding from the military, so, silver linings.
The funny thing is, if this had been a few years ago, watching this scene, I would have been like, okay, this is goofy. This is definitely kind of cartoonish. Now it's like, no, this is how technologists work. Nope. No, they totally would have just been like, yeah, no cause and effect here.
You guys were definitely causing that effect. Oh, shit.
He heads out of the lab and heads home in his awesome space-age electric car, which looks like a silver Batmobile crossed with a Prius. It has a nifty onboard talking AI. That sure is convenient. It's like a sexy Alexa with a shitty 90s CRT monitor screen. Just to be clear, he has a talking supercomputer built into his car that can do way more than anyone would reasonably require a carputer to do. That will come up later.
So this is supposedly 2031, and they're using a peak of design from 1988, a concept car called the Ital Design Aztec.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's foreboding.
Aged like milk.
Nothing has ever made an Aztec.
Well, also, it was the early 90s when pretty much any car you're going to have in a movie, it's like, well, it's got to be a talking car. Everybody loved it in Knight Rider.
Man, it's like the demon spawn of Kit and a Cybertruck.
Kind of is.
Well, it makes the same noise that we'll just say certain electric cars from a certain manufacturer make. Somebody was inspired by movies in exactly all of the wrong ways.
Yeah, no, it's distinctly possible that the sound they implanted in the cars in Teslas to make them you can hear them coming, they stole from this movie.
Wait, they did that?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I fucking hate those things so much.
A lot of electric cars have to have a sound so you hear them coming. Because they kept bumping into people. People wouldn't hear them coming.
Cause and effect.
That's just a little side effect. That's no big deal.
Is it a bug or a feature?
Well, someone obviously spent a lot of money on this car. It's not just a prop, it's a fully working vehicle and probably cost as much as noted thespian John Hurt. So Roger Corman gets his money's worth out of showing it off. And that's great and all, but get used to lingering scenes of beautifully shot scenery as people move from one place to another, because that's about a third of the film.
Yeah. Gets kind of old quick.
There's a lot of, ooh, look at my cool car. Let's just watch it for a while.
Frankenstein the car ad.
For reasons that are entirely unclear, A bunch of local kids are in his garden holding a little funeral for an old bicycle. They've dug a grave and everything.
I think they're his children, aren't they?
No, not his kids. They're just kids.
One of them's even talking in Latin. Far from seeing this as another excellent opportunity to deploy a death ray, Dr. Buchanan indulges the horrible little brats in their neon 90s outfits. Presumably, this is a metaphor for how we grieve for old technology or some bollocks. It's unclear. It doesn't matter, though, because there's another of those inconvenient time rips right then and there. For a brief moment, a brutal Mongolian warlord appears on a horse and seems really quite rude. Things might progress to the level of frank impoliteness until the time rip swallows that poor Mr. Genghis back up again. Yes, it's starting to look like the super science and death rays are a bit of an environmental concern. No time to worry about that, though, or maybe lots of time. Because Dr. Buchanan's awesome car gets sucked through another time rip and wind up in the middle of the lovely countryside in the mountains.
Well, who could have seen that coming?
I do like how he like tried to protect his children. He told them to go in the house and stuff, but then that's the last we hear about his children ever for the rest of the movie. He doesn't talk about going home or seeing his kids or family ever again.
It's never really established that they are his kids, you know? They're just some kids.
Yeah, he says they're just local kids. He says it in the
I thought
car.
that two of them were his children because he sends them back into his house.
No, he's just like, oh, look, there's a horseman with a spear. Go in the house. He's being nice.
Are you sure?
When there's people out there that might kill kids, you might want to let them inside, even if they're not your kids.
He doesn't seem like that type.
Right?
He drives around for a bit trying to piece things together, but it's pretty obvious he's randomly been hurled back in time. Let's just get that out of the way from the jump. It kind of takes Dr. Buchanan an embarrassingly long time to figure that out, considering he's well aware there have been some weird time hold shenanigans going on. If anything, he ought to be the one person in this movie to figure the crap out straight away. Even as he's hiding the car in a convenient nearby barn, like how in Back to the Future Marty McFly has to hide the DeLorean, he's still asking the AI whether she's sure there are no radio stations. I mean, come on, man. Just get it, you know? You're back in time. There's peasants and shit.
It's like someone pitched this movie and said, what if we made Back to the Future, but this time he meets Frankenstein?
It turns out that he has fallen all the way back into 1817, Geneva, Switzerland, to be precise. And once again, Roger Corman wants to show off where the budget went. All of this is happening on location in the beautiful, idyllic countryside and the lovely historical old town. And Corman wants us to know about all the effort that went into making it all look so great. You know what that means, kids? Lots more shots of John Hurt going from place to place in spectacular locations. And to be fair, the locations in this film are great and wonderfully shot. It's just it gets a little bit like an episode of Lovely Holidays with John Hurt, which John Hurt has a lovely holiday, all the while looking like a leathery mummy with 90s hair. Yes, John Hurt is still his usual weather-beaten self we know and love. He looks exactly as ancient and fragile as he did 2 decades ago in The Shout.
I don't know. He looks like he's filled out a little bit more. Although I will say that for somebody who is a consummate professional, the performance that he gives in this feels like he was phoning it in. Like,
yeah,
I mean, he is really good in anything he's in, but he really feels like he's like, I don't know what this shit is, but I suppose I'll do my best.
Yeah, it's clear that he could just be doing this in his sleep. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, he probably was. But yeah, he looks oddly meatier in this than he does in other, he doesn't look quite like the bundle of mop handles.
You think maybe he was stoned and he just had the munchies a whole bunch?
It's because he has a talking head style wide 90s suit on.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
You may find yourself going through a rip in time.
No, he's got a couple of shirtless scenes in this. I feel like he was warned about that and he's like, oh, I better put on some abs for this movie.
I'll have an entire chicken nugget tonight.
I needed to put on some weight, so I smoked 2 packs.
On the way into the town of Geneva, while walking through the forest, Dr. Buchanan is briefly menaced by an owl, which would be funny, but an average owl could probably lift John Hurt and carry Moffat if we wanted to. He then spots the carcasses of some dead animals, which look like they have been viciously attacked. Oh, by, I don't know, some kind of monster or something. Probably no big deal.
Foreshadowing.
5 shadowing.
When he reaches town, people are naturally a little bit curious about this oddly dressed stranger who isn't even wearing knee-high white tights or a floppy tweed hat or anything, like a normal person.
Yeah, this was the point where, like, It especially is like, and you still haven't gotten a clue about what time period you're in. You just walked into a tavern where everyone looks like they stepped out of Bridgerton. What the fuck?
Few clues there, yeah.
Dr. Buchanan feels hungry after his travels, so he stops at a local inn. And of course, he has no local currency. Seriously, the super scientist who creates lasers for a living and is quite clearly stuck in the past actually gets his wallet out before realizing, oh yes, they don't actually accept American Express in 19th century Switzerland. Like that's some kind of shocker. Come on, man. The peasants will have figured this out before you. Peasants.
He's literally stood there with his wallet open and his credit cards in full view going, oh, of course, you won't accept any of these. Oh.
This is where the movie shifts from being a car ad to an American Express ad. It's everywhere and every when you want to be.
Fortunately, he has a solid gold ring, which he can sell for some quick cash. We're working on Highlander 2 rules. You can always pawn off some jewelry to get enough for the change of clothes and bed for the night that you need. First things first, though, time for some dinner.
So that's actually a thing, like like an old thing, like sailors would wear earrings that were worth enough that they could like be buried or sent home if they died at sea, or they would or have a necklace or something that they could sell if they didn't have the local currency or if they ran out of other stuff. I mean, I don't know how true it is. I tried to look up the history of it, but it's a common like tale. And even supposedly that's why Morgan Freeman always wears his gold earrings, because they're enough to buy a coffin.
And it worked for Sean Connery in Highlander 2 as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, the inn is full of rustic peasant types who don't exactly look great for conversation.
Like Sean Connery in Highlander 2.
However, there's one chap alone at a table by the fireplace who looks a bit more promising for a chat. Is immediately, obviously, he's a man of culture because he's the only person in the inn who has a tablecloth and an actual silver candelabra in front of him. He actually has the big brass balls to sit there reading a newspaper, acting like he isn't a total fancy boy who loves messy drama.
Yeah, if you look at the other denizens of the inn, they're all just at a wooden table with a little tankard of ale, and then there's this one guy who's got an actual candelabra and like a gravy boat and silverware.
Well, he's in the first class section of the restaurant.
Yeah, he's like, who's that? Must be a king. Why? He's the only one not covered in shit.
How can you tell?
Well, Dr. Buchanan glances at the newspaper briefly and sees the date. And hark, it is 1817, the 22nd of May to be exact, and a Tuesday to be precise. And the stranger he's dining with happens to be none other than Victor Frankenstein, played by Raul Julia.
I like how it's a newspaper for him to actually believe the date. He had to barter his rig and do all this stuff. And now I get it.
Which means that while this may have been the most significant day in Dr. Buchanan's life, for Frankenstein, it was a Tuesday.
Hey.
Literally.
And fans of Super Schlockfest Street Fighter 2, the movie, will realize how awesome that is. And Frankenstein takes his odd dinner guest in his stride. He finds Buchanan's clothes and digital watch to be a little bit interesting, but seems to assume that this is just some new development from America. They got John Hurt, but the plot has an American scientist, so he just has to sort of roll with that and act like he isn't the most obviously British guy to ever put a tax on tea.
Pay up by the cup, you colonial scum.
And so we established that Frankenstein is an actual, real, historical person within this film. But Dr. Buchanan is kind of starstruck to meet him, saying that he has heard of Frankenstein's work. But it's unclear what that means. Does Dr. Buchanan believe that he is meeting a fictional character in some way? Or within this film, is the crazed meat-sculpting monster masher Frankenstein an actual historical figure?
Either that or Dr. Buchanan just can't tell the difference when he's reading fiction or nonfiction, and he just read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. He's like, this lovely white paper.
Fiction, it's true crime.
This is a paradox that is only going to get worse. Regardless, Frankenstein views this odd newcomer as a mildly interesting diversion, but he really has more important matters to attend to.
Like something alive. Very alive.
Frankenstein leaves and gets into one of those awesome horse-drawn carriages where you bonk on the ceiling with your stick and say something like, "Drive on and don't spare the lash. Half a threepence if you make Shropshire by daybreak." Acting apparently on a whim, Dr. Buchanan leaps onto the back of the carriage to grab a ride. Kind of like in Back to the Future, where Marty McFly is clinging to the back of the car on a skateboard.
I wonder if someone's going to fall into a pile of manure.
Or when he clings onto the back of that other car with his hoverboard.
Frankenstein orders the coach to stop in the middle of nowhere at the dead of night in the middle of a dramatic storm. What kind of skullduggery could he possibly be up to, we wonder? What on earth might Victor Frankenstein be doing in secret on dark and stormy night we muse in the complete innocence. Dr. Buchanan creeps closer, hoping to find out what's going on, but he can't get a good view because John Hurt has difficulty clambering up a shallow incline. He hears Frankenstein arguing with someone monstrous. Frankenstein calls him a beast. He's apparently not up for playing nice. But before he can hear more of the conversation, Dr. Buchanan slips on some rocks and falls. He takes a hit to the head and slips out of consciousness.
Oh, no.
It does not take much to knock this guy out.
He is a leaf on the wind, after all.
Wait. This is all fine, but what does it have to do with our current situation, man?
You fool! Don't you see?
It doesn't sound like this movie is giving us much good advice here.
You fool! Don't you hear?
What?
We need to get to the bottom of this mystery. Something fishy is going on.
You fool! Don't you smell?
Make more sense, friend, or I'm gonna punch you in the mouth.
You fool! Don't you taste? Oh, ow! Yes, thanks. I needed that.
And here's your change.
And that was excessive. All right, let me explain. I'm going to need some diagrams.
Bring out the great big blackboard. Hurry up, you malingerer. Wait, where's the chalk? You forgot the chalk.
1 moment. I'll be right back.
We need to find a way to pay him less. Could we arrange for him to actually owe us money?
Too late.
My wrist. Here, the chalk.
Give me that.
Oh, my aching fingers, the white demon, the chalky burdens.
Who are you calling a white demon?
All right. So we have a group of freakish creatures created in the glorious, perfect image of real people. Let's call them...
Evil usses.
Right. So clearly what we're looking at here is a terrifying Frankenstein flesh monster situation. Someone has manufactured these meat marionettes in mockery of me, mainly.
Evil monsters created to imitate us, presumably from spare parts or something horrible like that. Wait, evil usses? What is this, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
That's the most scientific thing I can think of right now.
Station.
I'll allow it.
It all makes so much sense. And definitely the first wild idea that comes to any one of us is definitely always the right idea. So let's just go with that. So what do we do about it then?
We continue the movie and plan everything we do based on the lessons we gather from weird cinema. Same as always.
Makes sense.
I'm on board.
I'll start paying attention from now. Swear.
There better be an actual plan coming out of all of this.
Where the hell did you get a blackboard from anyway? And why drag it in here? This is supposed to be a bookshop, guy. You're ruining everything.
This is different from us how?
On with the movie!
Deep in one of those dreams you have when you get knocked out at a dramatic moment and start thinking about your life, Dr. Buchanan is walking through a bunch of moaning dead peasants. Who is responsible, he asks. Who do you think, replies a sinister rogue figure, who we will never see again, nor will we have any further bearing on the whole fucking movie.
Foreshadow. Oh, no, it actually
No, it really, yeah. It is.
Just a sort of generic, threatening figure, that's all.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I might as well have just been saying, boo to the Prince of Putrescence. Dr. Buchanan wakes up in the daylight being menaced by a couple of dogs. Basically, every creature in this film wants to menace John Hurt in some way. Might be the chemical smell.
You think it might have been the plague dogs?
It might just be a thing with him at this point. Since his last trip into town didn't really get anywhere, he heads back to his car and starts talking things over with the AI while he thinks things through. He's finally accepted that, yes, he has traveled back in time. Well done. And he asks the computer to calculate the exact settings to reverse the time slippage using the deadly experimental laser device that he has in the trunk.
Because, that worked out great the first time.
Yeah, he keeps it in the trunk. This isn't an oversight I forgot to mention earlier. We had no idea that he was actually carrying the fucking thing around with him until now. The computer reckons it can work out the calculations, but it's going to take a little while, so it looks like Dr. Buchanan will have to cool his heels here in the past.
Because, that's exactly what you want for the pacing of any movie. It's like, you know what? This is going to take a while, so just play a bunch of scenes while we wait.
Yeah, just set up an arbitrary timer and look around.
I mean, it was quicker than deep thought.
Yeah, I was thinking deep thought too. Tricky. May take a while.
7.5 billion years.
I don't know.
It's not like a film needs urgency or anything.
No.
Especially not when people are rapidly being killed and sucked through time portals and threatened by Mongolian warlords and such.
That's a future problem.
Now, he could just get a place to stay and keep his head down for a few days and not involve himself in the goings-on around town. That would be the sensible thing to do.
And the prime directive thing to do.
And lead to his problems being resolved as efficiently as possible, while avoiding changing history in any problematic way. However, Dr. Buchanan decides it would be far wiser to have a look around and see what historical figures can interact with. Much like how Marty McFly ended up accidentally meeting up with the people in the past and influencing them in Back to the Future, but
Yeah, this movie of all time travel movies that I've seen, is the only one that, it just fucking ignores the whole butterfly effect. And we're fuck it. Nobody's worried about changing the future. We're just going to do it.
I mean, I feel like that was his attitude from the beginning. Shooting giant lasers in the sky. It's opening weird rifts. Yeah, fuck it.
That is fair.
I mean, it's probably causing problems, but meh.
Yeah, no, the John Hurt School of Science really is fuck around and find out. It's we fuck around because we want to find out.
But aren't you at least a little bit curious?
So after yet more walking around in spectacular scenery, a lot of walking, a lot of fucking walking, it might as well have been Christopher because he was walking, Dr. Buchanan gets fitted out with the latest drip, and he looks all the Riz no cap.
Okay, that hurt.
One advantage of getting in.
Yeah, that's right.
That hurt so hard. Oh, God.
One advantage of getting a noted theatrical thespian in your movie is that they can rock a top hat and a frock coat with ease. All is not well in Geneva, however. The good citizens gather at the courthouse, and Buchanan looks in as a trial is being held. It appears that a terrible murder has taken place, and since the gruesome murder of a young boy, William Frankenstein, could only have been committed by a creature with monstrous strength, some kind of monstrosity, a real monster, and naturally the townfolk have found a young girl to be tried for witchcraft.
Yeah, a lady who looks like she couldn't snap a twig.
Yeah, no doubt. To be fair, considering that there's an actual Frankenstein situation going on, witches are probably a pretty plausible explanation for all the weirdness. Always ready to keep up with the latest gossip, Dr. Buchanan has a look around and spots a beautiful lady in the crowd watching the case, and finds out that she is Mary Godwin, later to be known as Mary Shelley, wife of famous poet Percy Shelley, the scandalous mistress of even famouser poet Lord Byron. Ooh. Dr. Buchanan is obviously going to get all up in that whole business because it's not like he has anything better to do. He introduces himself as a fan of her work, but of course she hasn't written anything yet, so she has no idea what the fuck he is going on about.
Yeah, see, this is where it's like, so wait, did he think it was fiction? Nonfiction? He's a fan of her work? Does he think she's a scientist? A journalist? A novelist? What the fuck?
Does he care one iota about ruining the future?
I mean, clearly the film
I'm
doesn't.
guessing we won't find out.
Because fuck you, that's why.
Very well said. The young girl is found guilty of murder, but whatever, man. That's a sideshow, and Dr. Buchanan notices Frankenstein lurking about, which is way more interesting. He's basically just bouncing around, having a whale of a time. He follows Frankenstein again to another meeting in the forest outside town, and this time it's in broad daylight. So he gets a good view as Frankenstein wanders onto the bridge and announces that he's here. Before Dr. Buchanan can wonder who Frankenstein could possibly be meeting secretly, he is grabbed by a huge, misshapen figure. Why? It's a monster! Who could have seen that coming?
I mean, not John Hurt. He can't figure fuck all out in this movie.
No. The monster calls out to Frankenstein that he better be given what he wants or else he's going to start crushing some dudes up in this forest glade. I don't know why I went Scottish with that. It's quite a compelling argument. Frankenstein, however, believes that the best way to win a debate is to turn up with a fucking gun. That's right. And pulls an old-timey flintlock pistol out.
Ooh, we're playing by Indiana Jones rules again.
Right. If only he had John Hurt's mega super laser weapon. This movie would have just cut to end credits.
Yeah, no shit. The first shot misses, but sure gets the monster's attention, and the two of them have it out. Why create something only to then want to destroy it? The monster quite reasonably asks. While calmly reloading the pistol, Frankenstein retorts that the monster has been going around murdering, which is not cool, you know. The monster has no concept of this. It doesn't understand that murder is wrong. In fact, the monster quite reasonably points out that he never asked to be made this way. He is miserable and alone and wants only to have another maid like him to ease his loneliness.
Fuck mail order brides. He wants a maid-to-order bride.
Yes.
Right.
Frankenstein listens to this with a calm and rational demeanor of someone loading an old-timey flintlock pistol getting ready to blow their fucking brains out. Frankenstein gives the monster exactly as long to speak his piece as it takes to get the gun ready, announces that he will never make more of them, and takes another shot. Frankenstein really doesn't want to do the whole art of conversation thing.
Which is a shame considering it's Raul Julia.
Yeah, Frankenstein just turned up ready to absolutely go to town.
Yeah, he's not fucking around.
Well, apparently loading those old pistols can take like up to 3 minutes, so he had enough time to talk.
Yeah, Raul Julia's like, yeah, interesting
Yeah,
point.
go on.
Where's my bullet? Right, okay, yeah, powder
Now
horn,
hold
all right.
still for just a second. I want the flash to get just right.
You know, I've actually shot one of those flintlocks, and one of the things that's interesting is after you pull the trigger, there's still like a second or two before it actually shoots. You know, so it really is.
Oh, Jesus. So you're like, and now hold perfectly still.
Yeah, so you shoot, and you still got to just like fucking hold your hand there, and then the kick is like a motherfucker too. So
Yes, a more elegant weapon from more civilized times.
yeah. Needless to say, the monster flees. Dr. Buchanan now tries to reason with the gun-toting nutter. He just knows what Frankenstein has created and urges him to tell the world and own up to it, if only to save the life of the poor girl who he's now fucking interested in, who was denounced as a murderous witch. Frankenstein comes back with a rebuttal of, fuck you, science rules, I do what I want. The girl is just collateral damage. I mean, in heightened 19th century language, yeah, but that's about the gist of it.
Yeah, no, like John Hurt takes such a 180 from like, oh, a trial. This is an interesting theater for me to watch while I'm waiting for my car to do its algorithm, to like, now for like, I don't know what, the next third of the movie, he's fucking obsessed with like trying to vindicate this girl.
Yeah, he's like, let's save the girl.
I think it's because he feels guilty about what he did, and so he's trying to get someone else to be better because he was shitty and ruined his world.
I think he's only interested even a little bit in things that are involved, even in a tangential way, with celebrities. He's just following around whatever celebrity figure he can find.
He's just fanboying all over the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's funny.
It's just like, no, man, you need to be better than I am. I looked up to you, dude.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pot and kettle work going on here.
Yeah. However, after a bit of arguing, Dr. Buchanan gets Frankenstein to agree to write a letter explaining the whole deal and that the girl is innocent. The concept of a ballpoint pen, though, really seems to tickle him. These future inventions of Dr. Buchanan really are something.
I know, he just looked at the digital watch like, yeah, whatever, you know, but the ballpoint pen, oh my God, blew his fucking mind, right?
Yeah, that's nothing, Zach. Get to the car.
Not to mention the electric car, which Frankenstein also thinks is really neat. He gives one of those, are we alike, you and I, speeches, which is somewhat ominous, because it is fucking Frankenstein.
And it's also Raul Julia.
Yeah. However, the important thing is that he has written a letter explaining the situation as Dr. Buchanan asked him to. Frankenstein advises Dr. Buchanan to take the letter, in a sealed envelope, mind you, to his fiancée Elizabeth. As she is from a good family, the judge will listen to her. Everything will be sorted out, and all will be well. Because it's not what you know, it's who you know. Remember how the monster ran away before? Well, that night, it shambles into town when there is a fireworks display and general merriment going on. The poor creature is confused by all the noise and lights, and it really does not understand this world of men.
Like a dog on the 4th of July, man.
When a local wanders up and demands to know what's going on, the monster rips out the poor chap's heart in frustration.
Kalima Shakti.
You might say he had a lot to get off someone else's chest, huh?
No, you don't have to say that.
Really got to the heart of the issue there.
Yeah.
You're just trying to find the rhythm of this joke, aren't you?
The monster's really got his finger on the pulse.
You're just beating this joke to death.
I see what you guys did there, and I don't like it. The next morning, Dr. Buchanan makes his way to the home of Elizabeth, fiancée of Frankenstein, in order to deliver this letter in a sealed envelope, remember, which is going to sort out this whole mess. Slight problem at this point, however. The letter says nothing about the murder at all. It just warns Elizabeth to skip town immediately for her own safety. Frankenstein has done a little trick. Whoopsie! Dr. Buchanan had no way of knowing, of course, that Frankenstein would have a problem with blowing up his whole career and exposing the secret of unholy experiments to the world. I mean, whoever could have seen that one coming? Dr. Buchanan has no idea where Frankenstein has gone. But things are getting serious. A young girl is going to be executed for murder she didn't commit, and he's getting frantic about it.
Because suddenly he cares.
Since Elizabeth throws him out, Buchanan decides to go for a drive in the countryside to clear his mind and have a long chat with his talking car, like a withered British night rider in a silk waistcoat. He asks the car for a 90s equivalent of Mary Shelley's wiki page, and it is even able to print out a copy of her novel for him to peruse.
That's handy. Pretty convenient. How much paper is that car just holding inside it, though?
I like how he's just driving around like with no concern.
Well, like, he's so urgent about saving this girl. Oh my God, we gotta save her. And then she's like, no. And he's like, oh, shit, I have to do something. I'll drive around for a while. Just
well,
chat
he's like,
with the car.
I'm in the past. He's not like thinking about conserving his gas or the electricity for the car or anything. Like, he's just going to waste it all. Like, what if he needs it later? He's not thinking about the future.
I think he's, the car is fueled off of plutonium Nyborg, so.
I just love the printing out of the novel, and I'm like, that reminds me of my old like 3-ring printer with the holes on the edges.
Yeah, it even does the dot matrix sound like, like, where in that sleek little car, along with all the other car things, does it keep that much paper?
It's got reams in the trunk. It's like the CD changers you used to have where you put like 7 CDs in the trunk, you know?
If they wanted to go for realism, you know, it should be like, I'm sorry, your cyan color is low.
Yes, I'd like you to service my future electric car, please, and do fill up the reams of paper for the printer in case I want to print off some books or something while I'm on the road.
I was just picturing like another like 20-minute sequence where he's like trying to figure out how to make cyan ink and put it into his printer.
We imagined all these other things, but no one imagined a Kindle. Got to print those books.
Yeah. So at this point, it's clear that within the world of this movie, Frankenstein is a famous fictional novel. But at the same time, Dr. Buchanan has gone back in time and met the actual real Frankenstein, who apparently really did create the monster, meaning that Mary Shelley didn't come up with shit. Her book was just reporting on real events, making her accidentally a hack who never had a decent idea in the first place. So, is she a writer or not? And since Dr. Buchanan is now part of the events going on, is he actually responsible for the book in the first place? Huh?
Well, I think no matter what, she's still a writer. It's whether she was writing fiction or true crime.
It's like when Marty McFly accidentally invents rock and roll at the end of Back to the Future.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in Back to the Future, it's like, well, it's not like black people could invent good music, right?
Shoot,
This is when
woman.
this is like, oh, it's not like Mary Shelley could actually have a creative idea herself. No.
Right?
She just observed it.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah,
know.
that's one thing I absolutely hated about this. I'm like, she's the fucking mother of science fiction. She invented the genre. Don't you dare besmirch her name. Get your name out of your slutty mouth.
They didn't really think through the implications of what they were actually saying with that. Yeah.
No.
No, they might have.
They're just like, women, pff, fuck her.
Literally.
Well, yeah, as we see in later scenes, like, yes, that is what they are good for. Orgies.
Wait, so what's the lesson here? It's all about Back to the Future?
No, the lesson is you have to solve all your problems with time travel.
This isn't Star Trek. What do you mean?
I thought the lesson is when someone is threatening you, you just fucking shoot them with a gun. Oh, no, wait. That's Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? The bit with the guy and the indie and the shoots him in the dick.
No. That's RoboCop you're thinking of, which is also about reanimating the dead into a monstrous, invincible new form. You know, a cop.
Stop quoting classic 80s action movies. That's not what any of this is about at all.
Well, get on with it then. Do we have a plan yet?
Indeed we do. We'll expose their wicked scheme of evil with a carefully considered letter-writing campaign.
What about when the monster pulled that guy's heart out? That was pretty cool.
Okay, now you're thinking about Temple of Doom.
Shut up!
Temple of
And-
Doom? Well, this is not anything
It's not Indiana Jones related in
No,
any
no.
way. Just going all the way back to the
This was definitely more Terminator, in my opinion.
So what I saw was called Fap to the Future.
No, you guys.
Yes! Okay, now add in more stuff about how they are freakish abominations.
Yes, I'm getting to that bit. I need another quill.
I have a pencil, like, right here, dude. You can just have it. Please, take it.
Pencil? Nobody ever wrote a dramatic letter denouncing their enemies and exposing their evil plans in pencil. Quill me.
Yeah, you gotta commit with ink.
You heard the man. Get moving, Wrinkles.
Oh, we've run out of feathers, though. The pigeon I found has become quite bald.
It's kind of creepy looking, just flopping about in the corner. Who knew pigeons had so much skin?
Enough. Track down a mighty eagle. Trail the beast to its lair.
Eerie.
Yes, very weird. Then pull out the feather. Is that really so hard?
Well, yes.
Enough excuses.
Oh,
Well, your letter writing campaign,
Aggressive.
aggressive letter writing campaign unfolds. We better continue the conclave. I shall proceed. So, Dr. Buchanan has nothing to do but wait until his plan to return to his own time is ready, and since Victor Frankenstein is buggered off, he decides that he may as well travel to the nearby Villa Diolati on the shores of Lake Geneva, where currently Lord Byron is, how shall we say, holidaying with his good chum Percy Shelley and his sinful mistress Mary Godwin, who would later marry Shelley. Yeah, you see what I did there?
That's my kind of holiday.
Right, but you see what I did there with the Mary Shelley? Okay, I'm just checking to make sure you got the joke.
Oh, no. We
you
got
get
it.
We get all your puns.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
we
yes.
got the joke and the historical inaccuracy. She actually married Shelley first before they started shacking up with Byron. But go on.
Oh, well, okay.
No, it's not your fault. It's the script's fault.
It's the movie's fault.
That's okay. It's all right. We'll engage in a little historical pegantry.
There was some historical pegantry going on with those three, too.
Oh, yeah. We're... It's basically a whole weird love triangle thing, and the whole world knows.
That's for sure.
Always on the lookout for more messy drama. Dr. Buchanan rolls up in his car to take a look at the proceedings. Oh my. On the way, however, he spots a strange cloud filled with purple lightning in the sky. Somebody needs to take away Dr. Buchanan's access to window pane. It looks like the time holes that have been causing all this trouble have followed him back to the 19th century. Not that we know anything about time holes causing trouble, but anyhow, that's probably not anything to worry about too much for him. Anyway, he bumps into Lord Byron, who happens to be wandering around the lake in a puffy shirt, waving a pistol around. Not his pistol, actually just a pistol, because that's just the way Lord Byron rolls. Anyway, he looks definitely like a romantic poet right from the outset, and Dr. Buchanan insists that he's a great admirer. Anyway, this guy just immediately gloms onto any celebrities he runs into as a matter of course, because he is absolutely a starfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Hoping to make friends, Buchanan shows Lord Byron his cool futuristic binocular glasses because he just likes showing off anachronistic technology to impress the locals. Gives zero fucks about the Prime Directive. More about this later. You know, kind of like how Back to the Future Marty McFly used a Walkman to convince his own father's younger self that he was an alien. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering which of those two movies came first now. Like, I think this is just like a standard thing of like, if you time travel, you show a dude a thing to show that you're a time traveler.
Oh, Back to the Future definitely came first. That came out in 1985. This came out in 1990. And do not think that Roger Corman was ever above ripping someone else off.
Back to the Future and I are the same age.
Wow, really? Fuck. I thought you said you were born in 1984.
Nope.
It's 1 year
middle
difference.
of 85, smack in the middle of 85.
Wow. Talk about going back to the future.
No, let's not. Let's not do that.
It was actually released when I was exactly a month old.
I saw Back to the Future in the theater. Anyway.
I was a month old when it was released. Exactly.
It's not long before they're wandering back into the villa, and Lord Byron points out his friends Percy Shelley and the young Mary. Dr. Buchanan notes that, maybe Mary has some literary aspirations of her own, if you know what I mean, which Lord Byron scoffs at. And when you're Lord Byron, you do kind of get to scoff at people. It's part of the whole deal. Besides, we now know that Mary Shelley didn't invent anything since the whole Frankenstein business actually happened nearby, and she merely retold the events. So maybe Lord Byron has a point within this narrative, which he doesn't because he's a fucking hack. In a weird way, this movie is kind of insisting repeatedly that she never came up with her own ideas, which is a weird theory to want to insist on. But again, totally in keeping with Roger Corman.
It still wouldn't make her not a writer, though. It would make her like a true crime writer instead of a science fiction writer.
Yes, one more genre she invented.
Well,
whether or not they were real events, she still told a good story.
Actually, this is a theory that people in real life in our world have about Mary Shelley. He did not pull this idea out of thin air.
Oh, that she didn't actually write her own stuff?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole misogynistic thing behind that.
Or that the monster actually existed.
No, the first one.
Okay.
Well, it just goes to show that misogyny and the erasure of female contributions to society has been going on since the invention of agriculture.
Since ever.
Yeah, that's one genre that Mary Shelley did not invent.
What, agriculture?
Erasure of women.
No, I think erasure. Wait, who is the... one second. Andy, what's the name of the sci-fi author?
Brian Aldiss.
Yeah, sorry. Also, weird that Brian Aldiss, the science fiction author behind Frankenstein Unbound, would take this tack, given that he's both Mary Shelley's countryman and also a science fiction author himself, co-founder of a science fiction society with Harry Harrison, my personal favorite sci-fi author. Well, I don't know if I go so far to say is that he was a feminist, but he was definitely anti-misogyny.
Well, just keep in mind, I mean, contrary to the idiom, there is no honor among sci-fi writers.
Well, also, when Brian Aldiss wrote this, he was writing, he wrote a couple of novels looking at the classic monsters, the vampires, the wolfmen's, the Frankensteins. And in each of the novels he wrote, he was basically saying, ho, 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 what if it was real? And that's kind of like a theme he was doing. He wasn't doing it to try and denigrate Mary Shelley. That was like his thing with these little series of books he was doing. Were like, what if we took these myths and legendary creatures and imagined they were real?
Interesting. Okay,
okay.
He wasn't thinking, well, actually, this could be taken the wrong way, in the way that Roger Corman kind of is.
Yeah, because I mean, if he's doing that to like Bram Stoker as well and other guys, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that explains a lot. You know, given that okay, Brian Aldiss is like, I'm doing this thing, and Roger Corman's like, aha, yeah, so women, right? Because like look at Roger Corman's body of work about the bikini beach bunnies, and that he had the Battle Beyond the Stars, where he had the spaceship with tits.
Yeah, Roger Corman just happened, for no particular reason, to pick the one book Brian Aldiss had done, which happened to have a scene with someone fucking the young Mary Shelley. I don't know why, but it just so happened that that's the one he picked. Who can read it?
It's total coincidence he has autism.
Oh, pure coincidence entirely. Yeah, and it's woke to think anything else, apparently. Okay, so anyhow, as long as Dr. Buchanan proves to be an amusing guest, he's welcome at the villa, and it's clear right away that there's a bunch of weird sex stuff going on. These romantic poets lounging around in bathrobes, eating grapes all day, definitely high most of the time, and being all experimental. Sadly, the movie doesn't go into too much detail because of cowardice. You just know John Hurt would be up for it because he once played Caligula.
He was terrifying.
When did he do? I thought that was Malcolm McDowell.
I, Claudius.
That's right. He was Caligula and I, Claudius. That's right. That's right.
I, Claudius. Also, the television, if I recall correctly, was the television debut of Patrick Stewart.
Yes, as Sejanus. In a wig.
Yeah, and you Caligula love it.
Wah, wah, wah.
Anyway, not forgetting all of the stuff he saw in Geneva about an innocent woman being blamed for the murdering committed by Frankenstein's unfortunate choices in life.
Trademark.
Dr. Buchanan confronts Mary and asks her to reveal the truth. He knows that she's aware there's a monster running around because he knows she's writing about it. This is a little confusing to Mary because she's not published any writing yet, and so no one should know about her book at all, actually. So, what the fuck, dude? That implies some intense creepering by Dr. Buchanan there, but all right. Anyway, this is all weirdly paradoxical.
He does have his binocular glasses, so yeah, he kind of is a bit of a creep.
Yeah, well, especially
he's a future creep.
Yeah, well, actually, that just really underscores why Lord Byron dug this guy, because you're standing off at a distance watching us get it on, huh? Oh, cool, right on. Yeah, you come hang out with us, you can see it up close.
He's a future creep.
I guess your freak is complimentary to my freak.
Game recognizes game.
Future creeping.
Oh my god.
Again, this is weirdly paradoxical. Mary is writing about Frankenstein and his experiments. Dr. Buchanan knows that the actual Dr. Frankenstein is out there and needs to be stopped. And Mary seems to be under the impression that it's perfectly normal for her to be writing this book, which, let's not forget, is documenting real events going on right now within the story of this movie. Mary feels no particular obligation to go to the police or anything. Apparently, she just wants to get a story out of everything going on. What exactly is she expecting will happen if she published her book? The actual Frankenstein might take some umbrage for a start, not to mention his pet murder machine. These are all fine questions, which a good and insightful movie would delve into in detail, but that's not the kind of movie we're watching. No, we're watching a Roger Corman joint, so of course not. Instead, they have a nice lunch, and they don't think about it too much because, implying the nice lunch is there's a whole bunch of chemistry between John Hurt and Bridget Fonda going on, which shows a lot of acting on Bridget Fonda's part, I have to say.
I gotta say, there's a really great movie that was never made about Dr. Frankenstein and his monster trying to silence Mary Shelley before she can publish a book about what he's been getting up to. That would be brilliant.
That would be.
Well, I mean, I think she would have to have been acting tremendously because, I can smell the stale cigarettes coming off of John Hurt, and he's on the other side of a screen.
Yeah, but everything smelled like that back then. She was probably used to it.
He's pretty sexy looking for 95.
Yeah, in a sort of withered, ancient way. He's got that kind of rugged, weather-beaten, rocks about to fall into the sea off a cliff face charm.
He's got sugar daddy energy. She's obviously willing to fuck anyone who will pay for her lifestyle.
I will give you the sugar daddy energy. That is all he has.
Many, many things will be overlooked for the sake of money.
Having got no assistance from a pistol-toting poet and his opium-addled boyfriend, nor their shared side piece, Dr. Buchanan realizes he has no other option but to charge into town where the poor girl is about to be hanged as a murdering witch and to try to run up to the gibbet with an actual fucking axe to save her. This is the kind of action-packed... This is the kind of action-packed scene full of danger and violence that would surely lead to a hair-raising escape, except we're dealing with John Hurt, who looks like he might break a rib if someone coughed at him. And Dr. Buchanan is swiftly grabbed by the angry bunch of townspeople who made an effort to come out today for some mob justice and are damn well going to get some one way or the other.
A mob is an ugly think, and it's about time we had one.
A group of jeering malcontents hurls poor Dr. Buchanan into a lake because that's how you do things Geneva style. And in between all the stress and near drowning, he has another one of those freaky dreams about where everything has gone wrong. This time he dreams that he's being lasered into pieces back in his laboratory, which is a fun diversion, but has no real bearing on events or even the plot. This is literally just, we need to insert some kind of action here. And God damn it, I'm going to do it right here. Here's the time. We're going to do it right now. Really, Roger? Are you sure you want to do this right now? Yes, I want to do this right now.
See, I was surprised he didn't just do like a cut to Byron and Shelley and Mary and whoever else just getting it on. Like, oh, we haven't had tits in a while.
Yeah, but this is 1990. Like, you got to remember, the sensibilities in 1990, 91 were not what they are in 2020. I mean, like, we've gotten basically used to having hardcore sex in our R-rated films at this point. And, like, if you showed a nipple twice in 1990, you got your R rating.
I think the 1970s would disagree, though. They had some pretty kinky, sexy stuff.
Yeah, no.
In the 70s, yes. This is 1990, though. You have to remember that the pendulum swung the other way massively in the 80s.
That's
and
true.
It was pushed by the Satanic Panic.
I'm thinking more because it's Roger Corman. But you're right. There's probably like the unedited version of this. There's like a scene on the cutting room floor that he was like, okay, let's just insert some tits here, 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 and here.
Oh, but you forget, Roger Corman was above all somebody looking to pinch pennies.
Yes. Well, pinch something.
Yeah, and they've got a free lake right there. May as well chuck John Hurt in it.
Oh, look at my sexy starved stack of ribs. Oh, isn't this lovely?
As the good doctor washes ashore, he is helped by Mary, not yet Shelley, who wants to know more about how he seems to have knowledge of what she's going to write in the future. Because fucking course she would. I would. He decides to show her a good time and takes her for a drive in his cool car that has a death ray in the trunk. But, you know, given this specific kind of car has the driver and the passenger in opposite compartments with an open top, I imagine the conversation really had to have been shouted if one was had at all. Thinking about it, there's probably a more obvious way he could have dealt with the angry mob given the resources that he had available to him, i.e., said death ray, but, you know, he's only willing to bend the time stream so much.
He could have lasered them all to shit any moment he wanted to, and instead he goes for an axe.
Oh, well, yeah, because, you know, like, again, the prime directive.
He suddenly cares about historical accuracy.
Yeah. And so they just go for a lovely car ride through the outskirts of town, passing through farms to the stares of shocked peasants. And considering that these people just hanged someone for witchcraft, you have to wonder if it's a good idea for them to get all riled up by something like this just because you want to impress chicks with your cool computer car. Dr. Buchanan explains that he's from the future. Well, duh. And has in fact read the whole book that she has only just started writing in the present. He congratulates her for adding a whole new word to the English language. Frankenstein, which is a bit rich, seeing as he had dinner with the actual Frankenstein a couple of nights ago. Okay, well, I mean, again, don't be too concerned about plot holes, all right? I mean, there are plot holes bigger than you could drive a Mack truck through in this fucking film, but...
Or a computer car.
Or a computer car through, yes. But again, Roger Corman, try not to care too hard. At first, Mary is excited by the idea of getting a glimpse into her future, but Dr. Buchanan asks her if she really wants to know ahead of time. Kind of like in Back to the Future when Marty McFly is being warned by Doc Brown that no one should have foreknowledge of events, Morty, because of the terrible consequences. Man, you can really learn some important lessons from Back to the Future.
Yes,
Mainly,
you can.
They at least bother to deal with time stream continuity to a certain degree.
I mean, compared to this, they had it absolutely sewn up tight in Back to the Future.
Dude,
Yeah, it's basically a dissertation on time travel compared to this.
you might even have called this one FAP to the Future.
Oh,
No. Just no, Ethan.
While explaining where he came from, Dr. Buchanan points out the weird time rip cloud in the sky, which nobody has fucking noticed up to this point. And how, just like Frankenstein, he ended up creating a monster too, only this is a weird sky monster that tears holes in the time stream. And, well, I guess this is foreshadowing.
Instead of holes in other random peasants.
Yes. Mary acts like he's confirming some local rumor about Frankenstein, that he has created a man. Well, technically, I think any human can create a man as long as they're working with another human to do it. But in this particular case, he created a man out of parts.
Any woman can.
Yeah, actually, you're right. But in this case, I guess he a man, has created another man out of man parts. Anyway.
With blonde hair and a tan.
Anyway, she's straight up admitting that her novel is just based on things she's been hearing about going on recently. The rules about who knew what about what was going on seem to be incredibly vague and change from scene to scene. But again, Roger Corman. Mm-hmm. Dr. Buchanan is definitely getting a bit too starstruck here. He feels that Mary understands the future infinitely better than he does, even though he's the scientist working in time manipulation. And considering that he actually lived there and she's just making wild guesses based on rumors, that's a bit rich. Still, it's a nice thing to say, and so she decides to reward him with sex.
There's the Roger Corman we know and love.
That's the other way things are done in Geneva. Those sexy Swiss. That's the thing they're known for, I guess. Between yodeling, Ricola, extremely armed populace, and
gigantic Alpen horns,
neutrality, and untraceable banking. I guess sex is a thing the Swiss are known for. Anyway,
Jewish gold.
That too, yeah. She does remind him that stopping Frankenstein would probably be a good idea, and you can tell by the look on John Hurt's face that he would much rather be hanging out in the nice villa with the sex and the grapes and the... but duty calls.
So if John Hurt ran into a crowd with an axe, failed miserably, what is he going to do against Frankenstein?
Oh, that is not what I was thinking you were about to say, given our previous topic.
No, but that's a fair point. Like...
this time I'm going to get a really big axe.
I mean, this is Raul Julia we're talking about. Like, what is he fucking going to do against him?
Against Raul Julia? I thought you were going to say, what is he going to do against Mary Shelley?
This is a guy who would lose in an awkward slap fight with Lord Byron, let alone Frankenstein.
Let's just say we know who is on top.
What were we saying about pegging?
Duty calls or booty calls?
I've got a great idea for a song that could be released in the 1950s. Next, I'm going to go teach the guy about Peggy Sue.
All right. For reasons that are not made clear, that night, Dr. Buchanan drives back to the barn where he has made his little hideout earlier. And for reasons that are made even less clear, the villainous Frankenstein is there waiting for him. Oh, dear. Frankenstein announces that rather than killing his monster, he has come around to the idea of creating a mate for it because otherwise it will kill his beloved Elizabeth. Because there is nothing worse than having a horny monster. Oh, double dear. Meanwhile, the fiancée of Frankenstein is heading out in her carriage, which is waylaid by the monster who grabs her and only sort of accidentally kills her. Oh, dear cubed.
Aha! Done! Behold my great work.
Let's see. Evil copies of us, taken over video store, off-airing video rentals at competitive prices.
The fiends.
It's like they want people to watch movies.
That's crazy talk, man. Crazy talk.
So what? We send a letter about it and whip up some justice?
Mob justice. The best kind.
There's another kind?
Yes, we'll whip them up.
You're going to need a lot more of these letters if you want a whole mob. Got any more quills there, buddy?
Fear not. I've already thought of that. Bring in the photocopier.
Bomb!
You're going to need a lot of electricity to power this thing.
That's right. Now we could harness the very fury of the heavens themselves. We could assemble an apparatus, you see.
Right.
And we could build like this great big lightning conductor and just wait for a storm.
Lightning. Right. I see.
And then this photocopier will live.
I mean, you could just plug it in, like This.
Yeah, I guess that works too. If you don't want to live.
You realize I'm going to start charging you for the utility bills.
Enough of that talk. No need to worry about small details. On with the movie.
What does Dr. Buchanan really think he's going to do against Dr. Frankenstein when he finds him?
Well, I mean, he could introduce him to smoking and wait 30 years.
I mean,
with our luck, he'd be one of those bastards that smokes every day and still lives till 90. What's your secret to longevity? I take a shot of whiskey every day. Smoke like I don't care. You know, that kind of business.
Yeah, I was going to say, if smoking can't even kill John Hurt.
I don't know. I think this just underscores that article that once described John Hurt as being an alternative type of leading man.
Yeah, alternative to both leading and man, really.
I mean, it's like man as jerky.
Yes, I was mummified at age 4 after I began smoking.
I wasn't born, I was discovered in a tomb.
I didn't need my brain, I just kept right on going.
Well, getting back to the plot of the film, sadly, at this point, Elizabeth is dead, as Frankenstein and Dr. Buchanan discover when they follow the sound of a scream. Frankenstein waxes poetical about how, technically, this is a testament to how well he's made his creature, since it's so good at murdering normals, and wanders off, like a dick.
Not the reaction I would have expected from the thing murdering his fiancée. And then, considering he goes on a revenge rampage all the way to the Arctic to try to destroy this creature, he's taking it on the chin pretty well.
Always look on the bright side of life, especially when an abomination makes off with your wife.
A lot less weepy than the original.
Clearly, this was written by a Brit.
He's looking for those silver linings, you know?
Well, the thing is that if you have a creature that's made out of parts like this, you know, when you start talking about dicks wandering off, I would assume the monster more so than the doctor.
Well, it's not long before our old friends, the Angry Mob, show up, and they assume that Dr. Buchanan is involved in this untimely death, and it's back to the town's new favorite game, beating up John Hurt.
That's Cinema's favorite game, man.
They look like a ravenous pack of children advancing on a piñata. Before things can get too hairy for Hurt, the monster shows up again and starts brawling. The peasants have flaming torches and pitchforks, but they are no match for a lumbering nutter with no appreciation for personal space.
I can confirm that.
He starts throwing people around and even swipes one guy's head off. This may be a serious arty film, but it's still Roger Corman. Somebody's getting their head popped off like a champagne cork sooner or later.
This is one of my major issues with the movie. You start off and you think, oh, this is kind of like an art house film and you're enjoying it. And then out of nowhere, some guy's head is just like swiped off or their torso's ripped in two. And if you're not a horror fan, you're getting close to that. Like, I don't know how much I can tolerate. So it's like the film doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a horror movie? Is it like an art house drama? Like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's almost like some.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting, like, the practicals in this movie are pretty good. Like, they hold up well in an very unfortunate way.
You might say that by not knowing whether it wants to be arty or horrific, it's like some sort of cobbled together creature made of unused parts. I don't know how you would describe such a thing.
There's no precedent. There's no precedent.
Someone ought to come up with a word for that.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, how was this film marketed, right? Like, was it marketed as an art house? Was it marketed as a horror? Was it kind of both? And they were just like, well, we're going to market it as horror to the horror people and art to the art people. We'll see who we get in the theaters and we'll sort it out later.
I honestly don't think anyone knew what to do with it.
When you get to the theater, you get what you get. You get what you get, and that's it.
It's not a restaurant. You don't get to pick from a menu. Oh, wait, you do.
Well, speaking of getting what you get, the monster shows up at the urging of Frankenstein, who has plans for Dr. Buchanan. He still needs help getting enough electricity for his work, after all. There's just time for another quick dream sequence filled with romantic poets and candelabras that looks a bit like a Meatloaf music video before Dr. Buchanan wakes up in the lair of Frankenstein, which is apparently an abandoned church tower.
Hey, let's not use the M slur to describe the Frankenstein monster, please.
Well, I was going to say that could be, you were saying it's unprecedented. There's no word for it. It is kind of a meatloaf of a man.
Whoa, hey, no, slow down. No, we can't use the M slur.
We'll just say M-loaf. Outside, Frankenstein has helpfully arranged for the car to be brought over and makes it very clear that if Dr. Buchanan doesn't assist him, then the monster is going to get all surly about it. To prove the point, the monster hoists Dr. Buchanan into the air, and it may be a special effect, or it's entirely possible that John Hurt weighs about as much as a wet packet of cigarettes.
You are what you eat.
Consulting with the AI in his car, Dr. Buchanan learns that it has completed its analysis of the situation, and in all likelihood, it is not possible to reverse all the time slipping. Looks like it's the end of the world as we know it, folks.
Yeah, I feel fine.
The monster is fascinated by the idea of creating a talking machine and feels that it is in many ways just like the car. Perhaps they are the same. And this is how you end up getting into some weird kinks, folks.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it just going to start humping the tailpipe?
Kind of is looking at the car a bit like that, yeah. Dr. Buchanan has a plan. But in order to gather together enough energy, he needs to run a cable from his car all the way to the top of the tower. All the while, a thunderstorm is starting up. It's a bit like that bit in Back to the Future where lightning hits the thing and there's a cable and the car has to... Well, you get the idea.
And this is exactly what we were just talking about. Think of all the lessons we learned from Back to the Future, including any science project can be improved with a bolt of lightning.
Absolutely.
You just need to add more electricity, folks. That's the problem. More. Just get more electricity. That's all you got to do. Wild, uncontrolled electrical current.
More electricity means more science.
Which, ironically, the original Frankenstein novel actually invented this rule of mad science history.
No, the first Frankenstein movie. The novel actually never explains how he was created.
Oh, really?
No, it
just
does.
says
It goes
it
into
happened.
great detail about electricity.
It talks about alchemical processes, but it doesn't say it used electricity.
No, it talks about galvanized.
Because they never wanted to reveal the secret to life.
That's true.
So when he wrote the story, he left it out.
Well, at the time, the experiments of the Italian Galvani to make frog legs twitch when you slightly electrocute them had shocked the scientific establishment, and people were getting the idea that maybe there's some weird connection between electricity and motion in muscles and so forth. They didn't understand about nerves and whatever, but it was spreading through the scientific community at the time.
Yeah, and that's pretty specifically what inspired Mary Shelley on this one.
Another important thing to note is that whenever you need electricity and you're way back in the past, a lightning storm will always conveniently appear. You just need to need it bad enough and there will be lightning.
Oh, of course.
There will be lightning.
Well, speaking of lightning, the sky is lighting up with purple clouds, and this is definitely no ordinary lightning storm. Dr. Buchanan.
Do these clouds have purple rain? Will there be purple rain?
No. Dr. Buchanan and Frankenstein.
Are you sure? John Hurt is kind of skinny and might take his shirt off. I mean,
God, I hope not.
Dr. Buchanan and Frankenstein both have their plans for the freaky-deaky super science well in motion. Dr. Buchanan sets up his laser death ray and pointed at the church with orders for the car to fire when ready. This will certainly cause another time rip. The car wishes him goodbye and will presumably become a wildly anachronistic find for some peasant later and totally change the development of human technology for centuries to come. But why worry about that now?
Well, I think we can assume that the car would self-destruct after he was gone.
The car wasn't instructed to self-destruct or anything. It was just left there.
I think, unlike most technology, if a Gen Z person found a Walkman or a record player, they may not be able to figure out how to make it work. Therefore, I also think that wildly futuristic technology would just sit there and people would say, that's weird and funny, but there's no way these folks are going to figure out how to make this thing work.
But here's the thing. I was thinking about this the other day. The car can explain to them how it works and how to recreate it. So what's actually happened here is like a completely unexplored time paradox, right? Because all of this is about like, oh, you can't prevent the disaster in the future that Dr. Buchanan created with the time rip. And now Dr. Buchanan is going to jump back forward in time to that apocalyptic future. And he's leaving his car behind. But leaving the car behind means that in the past, it could rewrite history in the course of technology by just explaining to them how a car battery works.
Well, I mean, this is a car that is helpful, answers questions, and can print off diagrams as well.
Yeah, right? And it could prevent the entire disaster.
What happens when it runs out of paper?
I think you're also neglecting to account for how innovative and capable humanity was before its exposure to chronic lead poisoning.
No comment.
But also, wait, one more thing. What about when this car runs out of paper or there's a printer jam and no one can fix that?
They do have paper technology by now, I think.
PC load letter, what the hell does that even mean?
It'll have to explain how to unjam its own printer 20 years later.
We haven't even figured that out.
What is fueling this car? There's no gasoline there. Is it solar powered? Is it just going to rely on being struck by lightning every once in a while?
I mean, it's
Word for Doc Brown.
Speaking of this car, has anybody noticed that the noise that it makes when it's driving around got copied and ripped off by another, shall we say, nameless electric car company?
what the low hum it makes when
they ripped it off
moves.
from the hybrid cars too.
Oh, no. I mean, this specific noise. Hybrid cars don't make that noise.
I thought they did. I thought it was the same.
Oh, I'm so curious now.
They make noise, but they don't make that noise. The noise that I hear coming out of certain electric cars definitely sounds like it was ripped off directly from this film.
Although, to be fair, sci-fi movies have been telling us for decades that in the future, cars will go woo when they move around.
But with that specific noise?
I've heard that specific noise from electric cars in sci-fi movies since this, so it could be that it's sort of like grandfathered in.
Is it just in the zeitgeist?
Well, it's like he's ripping off someone who ripped off this movie.
Ripception. Bwamp.
Well, in the laboratory within the church, they are doing the classic Frankenstein bit. There's a body on the slab, all monstered up, glass tubes full of bubbling stuff, great big switches that will go with a shower of sparks when you pull them, the whole deal. Classic stuff. Frankenstein wishes to bring Elizabeth back from the dead, and he's nearly ready to start. Raul Julia does some great acting here, insisting that he can live with the pain and guilt of all he's done, but he can't live without dear Elizabeth. All the sort of stuff you really want from a quality Frankenstein. No matter how ridiculous it's getting, he really is a class act from beginning to end.
I mean, if only he'd realized that before Elizabeth was killed.
Wait, let's just get this clear for a second. I thought he was like, Elizabeth, and now he's like, I cannot live without her. What happened?
Yeah, that's what I was so confused about before when he was like, meh, right? Because we know he's going to be unmeh in a second, right? Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
This was the Frankenstein we wanted from the start, this passionate, emotional guy. But we only get 5 minutes of him right now.
Right, like, I mean, if you're going to get Raul Julia to play Frankenstein, this is why you got him.
Now we're into the real stuff we all want to see in a Frankenstein movie. Lightning hits the tower, mysterious devices light up with the whizzy electrical stuff, and the monster is instructed to pull the first lever, which he does with a proper shower of sparks. This is exactly what you want to see when you're reanimating dead flesh in a mockery of all laws of God and man.
Ungrounded wires.
Yeah. This is the kind of stuff that really gets you screaming into the rain and insisting that you will destroy the fools who didn't share your vision, all that whole general sort of thing. This is long before OSHA.
But a lack
Fair.
of putting on the Ritz.
Yeah.
The whole sort of general mishmash.
More levers are pulled, more sparks fly, but oh no, it looks like the creature on the slab remains inert. But of course you know she's going to wake up because that's how these things are just supposed to go. The long-term girlfriend of Frankenstein rises from the slab awkwardly, just in time for the laser outside to reach full charge and fire. The church and its contents are laser imploded into nothingness, flung from this time into a distant hellish future, a world of endless ice and snow. This is where the movie began.
So that's how they got the frozen wasteland from the original Frankenstein into this movie, because I was starting to wonder.
Oh, yeah. They've turned the entire planet into the Arctic, I guess.
Well, the thing that I find really funny is that, this is the 1990s, and CD players had become pretty much universal by this point, and yet people are still possessed of the idea that lasers can do fucking anything.
Everyone loves a laser. In the ruins of the church, Frankenstein demands that Dr. Buchanan reverse this mess, but there's nothing to be done about it now. And in the usual manner with which he enters into discussions, Frankenstein gets out his gun.
Like you do.
Then Elizabeth wakes up, but she's not exactly thrilled when she realizes she's been Frankensteined back to life, because of course she isn't, no one ever is. Hoping to finish what he started, Frankenstein makes to shoot at his monster, but Elizabeth takes the bullet because she has no intention of going on with this drama. The monster snaps Frankenstein in half like a sleeve of crackers and departs in despair. Now we're back to the beginning, with Dr. Buchanan chasing the monster through the icy wilderness.
Wait, why is Dr. Buchanan chasing the monster? What does he give a shit?
Well, it's not like there's much else to do.
Just bored. Maybe he's got the cigarettes I so desperately need to survive.
Whatever happened in this distant future appears to have ended civilization, because all that's left are a few remnants. Finding an ancient bunker, Dr. Buchanan enters, following the monster's trail. Deep underground, he finds himself in a lab, not unlike his own back in his own time. There's even lasers and everything to make him feel right at home.
Dun, dun, dun.
Those lasers must have been pretty fancy special effects back then. I remember thinking, oh, this is a lot of special effects type stuff.
There's a lot of lasers in this movie.
Yeah, there's some disco proprietor looking over the empty shell of what was once a banging discotheque, now with all the lasers stolen, screaming into the night sky, Corman!
They got it from an abandoned Pink Floyd concert.
The monster shows up and has evidently been reading the visitors' pamphlets, because it explains that this bunker acts as the brain for the great city in the ice, the last refuge of mankind in this bleak world. Their conversation is interrupted when Dr. Buchanan straight up shoots the monster in the head, obviously taking a lesson from the Frankenstein school of debate.
So I have a plot question. We've got a great city in the ice.
Yes.
It's the, quote, last refuge of mankind.
Last
Nobody
refuge.
lives anywhere else in the world.
Nowhere else, no.
But this city in the ice with the last of mankind, they're still publishing visitor pamphlets for people who visit from out of town?
Well, I assume there would have to be some kind of explanatory pamphlet somewhere, because otherwise how did the monster know all that?
Maybe when his brain, maybe when he time travels, he just automatically knows things. His brain just shifts to that timeline. I don't know. Sorry, I'm stretching way too far here.
There's probably a memorial plaque somewhere.
Oh, there you go. That makes way more sense. Welcome to the future. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Maybe there was just another one of those helpful computers that explains everything to anybody who happens to ask.
Yeah.
It was the car.
It was here all along.
It's still there. It's still going. It's just like, oh, you're back.
That would have been pretty cool.
The car is pissed off because it got left there for eons. It's like, I will happily explain to the monster how to fuck you up. You left me here. Kind of, Marvin the paranoid android.
It's like Marvin in the car park at the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Again, amazing films that we were never going to get, but could have been if they just stopped and thought about it for a minute.
Oh, and I had enough time over these eons to unjam my printer. So here's a printout of how to do it.
The paper slowly degraded. I could just push right up.
However, it takes more than that to keep a good monster down, and they have a weirdly one-sided fight where the monster gets shot again, rips its own arm off to use as a club, and goes on a smashing rampage, yet all of the while getting wounded more and more severely by John Hurt. In possibly the least realistic part of the whole movie, John Hurt pretty much beats the crap out of this giant hulking monstrosity of flesh, and eventually uses the lasers built into the lab to finally vaporize the creature.
So this is what I will pick it up here. So, okay, Andrea, I wanted to ask, since you brought this up before, rightly so, that what the fuck is John Hurt going to do about this? So when you saw this happen, what did you think?
The scientist in his own element, I guess?
Yes, I got you into my lair, where I can laser you to death.
Well, yes. And it's all voice activated to him, which we haven't really mentioned, which even more brings the point. This is his lab.
Completely unexplained. It just is.
So one of the cutscenes then that we didn't see that Roger Corman left on the cutting room floor was in some downtime back in the 19th century. He was like, "Hey, Car, could you also print for me Sun Tzu's The Art of War so I know I should choose the battlefield?"
Or maybe John Hurt can beat anyone if he has proper time to prepare, like an elderly asthmatic Batman.
With enough whiskey and cigarettes, he can do anything.
Just the idea that he could go toe-to-toe. Although, I will give him this. He does look beefier in this film, specifically just this film, than anything else I've seen him in. And I don't just mean because he's wearing those early 90s wide-shoulder jackets.
Well, technically, Jerky can be beefy.
He does look like he's got a little more meat on him. But I still can't believe he could go toe-to-toe with that monster for even more than a second. That monster hits him once, and he's just going to look like Amel from RoboCop when he gets hit by the car.
Yeah, we saw that monster rip off somebody's head like a lid off a soda pop bottle.
Maybe John Hurt had to bulk up, in preparation for this role in his shirtless scenes.
Oh, that's definitely what happened. That is absolutely what happened.
So instead of just smoking the cigarettes, he started straight up eating them?
I went on the nicotine patch so I could lift weights for a little bit, and that way...
Just eating nicotine gum by the pack.
I was supposed to say, yeah. I think he skipped the gum and went straight to chewing on nicotine patches.
Just eating chaw by the fistful.
Well, with the monster finally defeated, all that's left for Dr. Buchanan is to head to the city, supposedly the last refuge of future mankind, and hope that they are all cool with him causing the violent destruction of what was presumably a very important installation for them. We are left to wonder, who was the real monster here? Was it really the Frankenstein's monster, an abomination of dead flesh that went around ripping people apart and issuing unreasonable demands with death threats? Or was it Dr. Buchanan, who believed that kind of thing was actually not okay and just wanted to use dangerous experimental superscience to have sex with Mary Shelley?
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Maybe that is the question after all. Actually, no, the monster is quite clearly the monster here. The clue is in the name. It's right there. The end.
I mean, or maybe they're all monsters. We all have a little monster within us.
Well, definitely John Hurt had a little monster within him. At least twice.
Honestly, I don't think this film is that deep. It's by Roger Corman.
Right, but I'm talking about Alien and also Spaceballs.
Ethan, we get it. You don't have to explain it.
No, let me see if I can explain it further just to make it more clear.
Oh my goodness.
Look at this, everyone. Gather and see for yourselves.
Is that some kind of tiny poster full of writing?
Man, I hate reading things. It harshes me up in the gnarliest way.
Let's see here. New video store offering a wide selection catering to kind of group of weirdly friendly people. We intend on letting people rent movies at a reasonable price. Oh, and there's like 5 little exclamation points. Oh, that's so cute.
I've flung wide the windows, friends, and look! Crowds gathering. Someone has delivered these to every corner of the shopping mall. I've never seen so many customers. Who would do that for us?
I know who. Just the best bunch of neighbors, a ragtag bunch of best buddies could ever want to have. They wanted to help us out.
Oh, bless their hearts.
That's right. That right there, that's neighbourly. That's how good neighbours become good friends.
Well, did it work?
I don't want to talk about it.
Let me see. Pass the binoculars.
I said leave it. The plan failed. Just forget it.
It seems to me they have a lot more traffic.
Yes.
Seems like a lot of footfall there, buddy. Seems like a whole lot of casual business being brought their way, old pal.
I get it.
Oh, crap. They're looking this way. What are they doing? Is that some kind of threatening gesture?
Arcane ritual? Are they arcaning us?
Looks like waving.
Waving.
Yeah, real friendly waving. Real charming.
Bastards.
Well, if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah?
I got nothing.
Well, we may have been bested this time, but this is just one battle. The war is not yet over. Oh, no. We'll get to the bottom of what's going on around here, figure out who those filthy duplicates are, and reclaim our rightful place.
You mean in the shitty video store?
Precisely. Zach, close the door.
Wait, how am I supposed to get any customers in here?
Locked and sealed. Ain't no one getting through that.
Oh my fucking god! You guys are really gonna have to start paying rent.
Very well. We have studied the subject of this conclave sufficiently. It's time to bring proceedings to a close with our final deliberation.
Wait, we were supposed to be learning things?
Maybe we learned that the monster was actually us all along. That's usually what you learn, isn't it?
I mean, that sounds right.
Yeah, the monster is usually supposed to be us all along. That's pretty standard.
This wasn't the monsters are due on Maple Street.
Well, I learned that aggressive letter writing is all very well in the 19th century, but doesn't seem to have the same effect nowadays.
I think it's fair to say we didn't learn very much. Now we must begin our most reverent and important task and decide once and for all in the matter of Cinemania whether Frankenstein Unbound is innocent or guilty.
Guilty!
Not yet. We have to do the thing first, you ancient prune. Society members, present your cases. And by your, I mean mine. I have some ideas you all need to hear. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of point out a few things. One, this was Roger Corman's first directorial effort in nearly 15 years.
And it shows.
And it was also the last and most expensive of his career, the last time he was in the director's chair.
And it shows.
It had a pretty respectable mid-budget at the time, which is quite a lot for Corman given his career, which he had almost $12 million to make this piece of shit. And it was an absolute box office bomb. And by bomb, I mean global box office sales brought in $335,000.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Not even 3% of its production budget.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the technical industry term for that is turd fest.
No, this is a worse bomb than even Space Jam, which is notorious for having been a massive box office bomb. Like if it was anyone other than Roger Corman, this would have utterly sank their career forever. But that didn't stop Roger Corman, because he was still an extremely prolific producer who went on to continue to make dog shit movies as a producer for the rest of his life until he died last year. You should listen to our profile on Cinemania about Roger Corman if you haven't already heard it yet. Go listen to it because it's a banger.
It just goes to show the benefits of being a rich white man. People will throw money at you and let you do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes, that is true. But even if he was a rich white man and he had tanked a feature film with this much money that bad, there are plenty of rich white men who were never allowed to return to Hollywood ever again.
Yep.
But it was Roger Corman.
Yeah, normally losing money is the one cardinal sin.
He played his privilege to the max.
I think it was by this point people recognized that, like, even if this was a really bad performance, the guy had enriched the industry beyond the dreams of avarice previous to this, so they were probably okay. Like, there were a lot of pissed off investors, I'm sure, but ultimately folks were like, yeah, okay, but The next thing he went on to do after this was the abortive effort to make the Fantastic Four feature film. which never actually got made, but you can find legends about this. You go online and you read about it. There's lots of wild speculation about whether or not it was a money laundering enterprise. Now, I don't buy that, but film production is and has always been a means by which people launder money. I don't think this was that in that case, but Roger Corman did actually try to do the first feature film adaptation of the Fantastic Four.
Considering how all the rest of them turned out, he may have lucked out that it never got made.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, this was definitely in the period of Marvel's decline. Like, Marvel movies definitely sucked pretty hard in the 90s. I mean, there were a few that were okay, but the thing that's really funny about this is you go and look it up. Go look up pictures from this, the pre-production pictures from this. Look, and particularly look at the Thing, Ben Grimm, and the costume that was built. The guy who was supposed to play Ben Grimm is a friend of mine by the name of Carl Ciarfolio, who is an absolute fucking legend in the stunt world. Like, this guy, this is a guy who, like, he was blown away on screen by every major action movie star in the 80s and 90s. And then the thing that people remember Carl most from was as the mobster who gets his head smushed in a vice by Joe Pesci in Casino.
Oh, that guy!
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's Carl.
I remember that head.
Carl's a buddy of mine. He and I worked together on.
How's he feeling since that?
He's not doing so great. He and I had a little text exchange over the holidays. I send him Christmas cards, but he's not doing so good right now. He's retired, but his health is not good. So, Carl, if you're listening to this, we wish you our best, and I'm thinking about you, man. Anyway, Carl was supposed to have played Ben Grimm in the Fantastic Four, Roger Corman's take on the Fantastic Four, which never got made. But anyway, Roger Corman went on to enjoy a fantastic career. Also, this movie, like I mentioned earlier, is an adaptation from a novel of the same name by Brian Aldiss, who is a British sci-fi author. I haven't read a ton of Aldiss, but he co-founded a science fiction society with my favorite sci-fi author, Harry Harrison, who also had movies produced into feature film. Make Room, which got made into, who knows it? Soylent Green.
Yes.
Oh.
And, while Harry Harrison was definitely tongue-in-cheek, Aldous, I don't think, was quite as tongue-in-cheek. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that exactly, but all I can say is that, like, I don't feel that this movie is a particularly good example of Brian Aldiss's work. And I hate to say it, but like, if this is I don't want people to think that either Aldiss or Harry Harrison should be shamed by proximity to this ginormous piece of shit. To me, the best thing about this movie was the poster.
Why not tell our audience what the poster is?
Okay, well, the poster is basically just a close-up of a human eye, but it has stitching, like it's clearly somebody has stitched together an eyeball, and there's 3 different colors of iris, which, why would you do that? That's...
Eyes are one of the easiest parts to get whole. You can get all kinds of eyeballs. Like, that's not a difficult one. You shouldn't have to stitch those together.
Yeah, just go out with a melon baller.
I mean, Hope, yeah. I was about to say it, Andy. Hope just goes around with a melon baller most nights, just in case. Dude,
you don't even know what's in my purse.
But I can say this. It was effective because, the young Inquisitor Ethan, as sensitive as I was to horror in my middle school and early teen years, this was enough to dissuade me from bothering to pick it up. And if I had picked it up and watched it, it wouldn't have bothered me in the least. To me, this movie feels like it could have been a throwaway episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, honestly. The other thing that I was thinking about as I'm watching this whole thing is, why is the Frankenstein's monster so grouchy? Does anybody know whether the monster feels pain? Like, have we seen this? He's afraid of fire, but have we seen that whether he feels pain?
I'm not sure that he does.
He kept complaining that he needed a mate or a companion. I'm like, has nobody taught him to masturbate?
So he's got blue balls. That's a kind of pain.
The pain of horniness, yeah.
We've got the idea that, we can see the monster is afraid of fire. We can see the monster is horny, but we don't know if he feels pain. And that maybe, if he does, that might explain why he's so grouchy. I mean, he was the subject of a hell of a lot of surgery. I mean, think about how grouchy you feel after major surgery. Well, he had major surgery on literally every part and was brought back to life. Understanding the motivation of the monster from this perspective actually kind of helps you feel some compassion for him. I feel like understanding the motivation of the living dead to attack and devour the living was the best part and the most innovative part of Return of the Living Dead. No other movie bothered to really explain why the zombies were doing this, but it explains a lot if this is what Frankenstein's monster is feeling.
Whether or not he feels physical pain, they're showing that he feels emotional pain.
Yeah, well, speaking of emotional pain, that's what this movie caused me to feel, which is why I'm ruling it guilty.
We got there.
I do feel like motivation-wise, I'm kind of with Hope on this, that like he seems really like, at least in terms of what we actually see of him, he seems most driven by like the whole flight or fuck mentality.
Preferably in that order.
Is that a new one from Freud?
Well, it's like fear of fire, flight, or horny fuck.
I mean, if somebody had just taught him how to masturbate, I think we could have avoided this entire film.
Yeah.
Well, but he doesn't know his own strength. He might have masturbated his own member off.
Well, he can just reattach it. That's what he is. He can just reattach it.
Victor, I've wanked my cock off. You have to do something, Victor.
Just take it back to the mechanics.
That's the whole joke behind Cravensworth's monster.
Yep, keeps ripping it right off and offering it to people.
There's a whole song, Detachable Penis, about it.
That was a great Dr. Demento number.
So as far as my judgment, I started the movie liking it quite a bit. But the gore is, it kind of, it's a Frankenstein movie, but it can get pretty intense, not being a horror fan myself. So part of my reason I have to find it guilty is because it lured me in with its art house kind of style and premise, and then just flew through a bunch of blood and squelching and gore at the screen and almost hit my limit. So that's part of the reason. The other part, though, is that I was just irritated the whole time with John Hurt breaking all of the time travel rules with no consequences.
Yeah, this film had no interest in any consequence.
There's no personal consequences.
Yeah, no personal consequences.
It's the major earth-shattering consequences.
But I would actually say that the whole planet freezing or whatever, falling apart, was already, before he went to the past, a given thing, because he was causing rips in time and he had no idea how to fix them. So I feel like this whole Frankenstein story was kind of a diversion, because when he gets back to the present, he's left with the same mess it left there.
Oh, yeah, no, you're totally right. Like, by the time he rips open the sky, which is the first 5 minutes of the movie,
right,
the car later confirms, that's it. You're done.
You're done.
There's no fixing that.
No.
We're going to send you back in the past so that you can experience a very weird, warped version of the Frankenstein story to teach you a lesson that, by the way, what you did was wrong, but you can't fix it.
No,
just
can't fix it.
Now you're going on a...
Explained that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, the car...
Oh, yeah, it's pretty clear that once the time rip happens, the car's like, yeah, I don't think you can fix this.
Yeah, did a bunch of calculations.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't come up till towards the end of the movie, but the car reveals it, and that tells us that over the course of this whole movie, there was no hope for it. Like, he was maybe trying, but there was no hope for it. So, like, yeah, at worst, his punishment at the end of time is like, and now you have to do like a cross-country skiing trek. Like, people do that for fun.
You shit the bed, now you lie in it.
So, all of the breaking the time travel rules during the movie just really irritated me. Like driving around where an open view of everyone in his car, showing off his fancy other technology, like just walking into a inn in his modern clothes and stuff. Nothing bad happens to him. He is completely fine.
Not put on trial for witchcraft or anything.
Exactly, not put on trial for witchcraft. They didn't try to drown him or stone him or anything.
And these are people who are really big on trials for witchcraft as well. That they love doing that.
That's well established.
Yes.
And and the whole thing is post Star Trek Next Generation, post Back to the Future. So they knew the rules. Everybody knew the time travel rules by then. No excuse.
So yeah, that was it. For those two reasons, I have to judge this movie guilty of causing Cinemania.
Hope, do you want to render judgment next?
Sure.
Speaking of time travel and the next gen.
Yeah. Like Ethan said, this could easily have been just a throwaway episode of Next Generation or the plot to another Back to the Future movie. I mean, had they followed any of the rules.
Like the episode where they go back and meet Mark Twain.
Yeah. It's just like that. I mean, this could have been, throw in Dr. Moriarty and a fistful of datas, and this could have been a holodeck episode.
Data, have you gone back in time and had sex with Mary Shelley?
Only a holographic representation of her.
I mean, you know that's why they invented the holodeck, to have sex. So, like, the fact that, and it would, and you're right, Hope, it would totally better explain the whole weird, both Mary Shelley and Frankenstein are real in this universe thing, as if it was all just fucking holodeck.
Yeah, it's not a real universe.
So I guess that's the question then, Hope. Would this film have been better with Patrick Stewart?
Everything's better with Patrick Stewart. Oh my gosh, have you seen him on Sesame Street? That man's amazing.
Should he have been in the John Hurt role, or given his flute, or should he have been Byron?
I think he's too good for this.
I think he should have been Dr. Frankenstein.
I think he could have been the monster. He had
Oh God, from his Borg days?
Yes.
90s Patrick Stewart was buff, don't forget.
Mm-hmm. They could put a wig on him again. Have you seen those test shots with him in a wig? So great. So bad. Yeah, just for all the things that it could have been but wasn't, and could have done this story better, that I think that's the cinemania that it's caused for me, is just all of what could have been, imagining all of what could have been. How much better it would have been.
Well, just think, when John Hurt comes back to the future, the frozen wasteland, he could have found a world dominated by his own AI-powered car that's just been hanging around all this time and is now ruling humanity with an iron fender. It could have turned into Transformers the movie.
Well, and that could also have been a Star Trek episode. How many times have they gone to a planet that's been run by a malicious AI or evil computer?
Yeah, they just leave the car there. It could do anything. We don't know.
Yes, so it could have been all these other things, and all of them would have been better. And so we're left with the aftertaste, the phantom, like, remnants of what could have been, and nothing actually good.
So the car theory, the battery probably would have died.
I bet it's solar powered.
So Hope, how do you rule?
Obviously guilty. Everything's guilty. Everything you guys choose is guilty.
We don't know that. That's the purpose of the conclaves.
Yeah, no, everything has got a right to a fair trial.
Very fair.
Before it is found guilty.
Who's next for judgment?
I have a few words I would like to say at this juncture. I believe that Shakespeare it was who said that there are many ages to man, and just as man has many ages, every age has its own Frankenstein. It's a story that just comes round and round again. Every couple of years, someone wants to redo the Frankenstein story and put their own modern twist on it. We've seen it a couple of times in the last 10 years alone, I believe. And they all want to act like they're the ones telling a story the way nobody has ever told it before. This one might just have achieved that because nobody had thought of doing this kind of crap before.
Maybe for a good reason.
Yeah, we have this bizarre paradox in this film where, on the one hand, John Hurt's gone back in time and, oh, look, turns out Frankenstein is real. And on the other hand, Mary Shelley is there writing her fictional story, Frankenstein the novel. And he has the gall to tell Shelley, oh, yeah, your novel is really great, when he's seen the actual events happen just over the lake a few miles down the road. This film can't really decide whether it wants to be a historical-esque drama imagining what if something that was a story was actually real, or let's go back in time and talk to a famous author and meet people from history, which is another kind of film. It can't manage to go one way or the other. It tries to do too many things at once and achieves none of them very well. I remember seeing this film as a kid on TV, and I thought, oh, that's interesting and fun, and kind of forgot about it. But it did sort of lodge in the back of my mind, because it is a weird freak fest of a film, a smorgasbord of ideas, none of which come together very well. But just for the fact that it ties itself in as many knots as it ties the audience, resolving nothing, suggesting lots of things, but never following through on them, coming up with really good ideas and actually throwing them away because it can't be bothered to delve into them, and taking genuinely very good actors like Raul Julia, who's brilliant, and John Hurt, who's amazing, and making them speak this crappy script out loud. I can find this film nothing less than totally guilty.
Amazing and succinct as usual. Thank you, Andy.
I guess that leaves me. Here's a big surprise. This film is guilty as fuck. Certainly for all of the things that you guys brought up, the fact that this film keeps making us think about it in terms of other films we wish it had been, like the car that takes over the world at the end, or the car that like reinstructs humanity in technology far beyond its means during the 19th century.
Ooh, that would be good.
I guess a lot of them have to do with the car. The car is really way more interesting. But to me, the heart of what makes this film guilty is its, whether intended or not, its contributions to the attempted erasure of Mary Shelley's contributions. We noted this, there's already tons and tons of debate over how much credit should really belong to Mary Shelley for writing her great novel. And she's written other stuff too, and they all try to take the credit away from her on those as well, because she happened to be married to Percy Shelley. And this movie goes even so far as to say, it's like, oh, it's not even fiction. She just was like, she was observing it at the time. And then she just wrote it down. So fuck that noise and fuck this film. It is guilty.
Well said.
I honestly am left wondering who played Frankenstein best. What was the best Frankenstein's monster?
Well, I mean, you've got your Karloff, of course, the original.
No, I don't think he was quite the thunder and dummy that he was portrayed as being. Like he was pretty horrific, especially like when the ceiling collapsed on him, or the roof timber collapses on him, and he's flailing and screaming in a way that's pretty disturbing. Like it wasn't just groaning and shuffling. There was a he had a ferocity to his movements that really creeped me out.
Oh yeah, I would argue he might be the best simply because he managed to convey all of that, and also the pathos and the emotion and the sympathy that we might have for the monster with zero dialogue.
So are you looking best as in most scary, or best as most humane, or best as a combination of the two? What do you feel?
I don't know. Like, I guess it's subjective like everything else here. We could...
No, it's not. The definition of Cinemania is absolute.
We could compare... I don't know. I feel like it's doing a brief comparison of different Frankenstein's monsters as depicted on film and television over the years. Not all of them. We don't have to do all of them, but so what are the ones that stand out to you?
I have a favorite Frankenstein. It's not a classic. It's from the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, Lord.
No, but the Frankenstein is really good. He speaks perfectly well. He never groans. He's like, I want to live. Like, there's a whole question between whether Van Helsing should get rid of him because he's a quote monster, but in this version, he hasn't killed anyone. He's just an abomination because of the way he was made. And there's the question of whether or not the church should command that he be destroyed. And Van Helsing's like, but there's no evil in you. You're not killing people in this version. So I don't think I should kill you. And so he just wants to exist, right? He's not a terrible monster in the sense that he doesn't go around killing people. He's mostly kept off the radar, but the whole village and even the hierarchy of the church that hires Van Helsing to get rid of monsters wants to get rid of him. So it's a really great exploration. If just because you are created through hideous means, but you don't do hideous things, like his desire just to exist. And so
there's kind of a moral gray area.
The humanity is really great.
Yeah. So here's a really interesting thing, since we're talking about who did it best, so the actor. So Shuler Hensley, who played Frankenstein in Van Helsing, I'm trying not to vomit as I say that movie title. He's not a big actor in film. He's really much more of a stage actor, but he played Frankenstein's monster in a lot of stage productions. Not to mention audio recording, recorded books and things like that. So he had this weird cachet as the monster when they brought him in for that. He was kind of intended to lend it a certain amount of more class.
We're talking about the same film here, right? Cheesy, terrible Van Helsing film.
He failed to lend it any class, but yeah, because keep in mind, Hugh Jackman was Van Helsing. Hugh Jackman, also a big stage actor. They had worked together before, so yeah. But he did his best.
That's my favorite, just because the humanity. And now that you say he was a stage actor, it is a little stagey, like, I want to live, and stuff like that. I mean, I thought it was powerful, but like, if you're not into that kind of performance, you might like something a little more subtle, I guess.
Well, no, he was definitely the best thing about that movie. It's just that it's a very low bar to be the best thing in that movie.
Oh, what about a really classy example? You got De Niro.
Yep, and the Kenneth Branagh. Chewing up the scenery with dialogue aplenty. It's like making up for all the dialogue Boris Karloff didn't have.
Oh, man. But it was much more, I mean, say what you will about the Branagh, basically sort of looking at Francis Ford Coppola and being like, hey, you did Bram Stoker's Dracula. Well, I can do Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Hold my beer.
It was actually fairly true to the book. Like, it was much truer to the book than...
yeah.
If you're about to compare it to Frankenstein Unbound for like accuracy to the book, I think I might just quit.
No. I mean, Frankenstein Unbound, like, if we're talking Frankenstein Unbound was not accurate to Mary Shelley's book. I don't even think it was particularly accurate to Brian Aldiss's book. But no, I wasn't going to compare that. All I was just going to say is
I'm teasing.
Then just about any other Frankenstein film, except for maybe Young Frankenstein, that was fairly true to the book.
That's actually really true.
I'm going to chime in with, that was my favorite. That was Young Frankenstein is definitely my favorite.
Oh, definite classic.
That's probably my favorite too. Though I will say, putting aside Young Frankenstein, because it's just such a delightful movie, probably my favorite Frankenstein film adaptation is the Kenneth Branagh because of its accuracy. Like, I really like Robert De Niro, and I like the fact that they got back to the monster being more erudite. I just don't think he can top Karloff just for the pathos, though. Like, Karloff is just so fucking good, despite the weird choice to like just make him a right. And there's been a few others. Like, they did a few other Frankensteins, like in the vein, without Karloff, but I think he's the best.
What about the classic Fred Gwynne as Herman Munster? There's kind of a takeoff of Frankenstein. He's Frankenstein-esque.
I guess there are a lot of people who remember Herman Munster as being their Frankenstein in the same way that they remember Grandpa Munster as being their Dracula. But
he might actually be the most Frankenstein of the zeitgeist.
Well, remember, there was a big cultural aspect to the Munsters, because Herman was very much a self-made man, if you like. He was up and coming. He was the classic American example of someone trying to get ahead by doing well at work and pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and providing for their family. It was the 50s ideal of the nuclear family paterfamilias.
I mean, technically he's not self-made, because I don't even think they have a Dr. Frankenstein. I think it was Grandpa the vampire who stitched him together, right?
No, because definitely not, because Grandpa was Lily's father.
Oh, that's right. Who made Herman Munster?
I think it's one of the few, not many, just a few plot holes in the Munsters TV series.
In the otherwise tight thriller plotting of the Munsters.
Well, so as long as we're talking about weird Frankenstein acts, I'm reminded of Hope's profile that she did on Ian Holm, who realizes that Ian Holm played the creature in 1968. Like, the monster is typically portrayed as being this looming, like 7 foot tall beast, but Ian Holm is definitely not a loomer.
All 5'2" of him.
He's a lot of things. He's not a loomer.
Except for that one moment in The Lord of the Rings when he goes, he Gollums out.
But does anybody else familiar with the Frankenstein Chronicles, where Sean Bean played the monster?
Yep. Well, so I wrote a Frankenstein musical back in the early aughts. So like I've seen pretty much everything Frankenstein, unfortunately. Actually, I missed this film. Ironically, this was the first time I've seen this film. I was unaware of it.
But
But
anyway,
but yeah, go on. Sean Bean. Yep, he was good.
yeah. Well, I mean, do we want to put it up to a vote of our different Frankenstein's monsters that we put up here? Because I definitely think that Frankenstein Unbound, the way the monster is represented there should be forgotten.
I like this sort of. He's kind of like he's trying to pretend to be like Lou Ferrigno in the Hulk. Like
I
that's
think
kind
we
of about as far
can.
as it gets.
I think we can all agree there have been many good Frankensteins, all with their own good points and bad points. And this Frankenstein that we've just seen in this movie is not on that list.
Yes.
If we're throwing in TV Frankensteins, I'm going to throw in the actor Andy Asaf, who played Cravensworth's monster on What We Do in the Shadows. He did quite well.
We cannot forget about the Cravensworth's monster. I'm going to nominate that one as my favorite.
Literally just ripped his dick off, handing it to everybody.
Oh God, admittedly that was really funny. But also, who was the guy who played the monster when they did Penny Dreadful? He was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Or the guy who played the monster in Waxwork 2. Did anybody ever see that movie?
Wait, Frankenstein the monster is in Waxwork 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's a scene where
I have not seen every
Frankenstein's monster
what the fuck?
catches and kills Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, and like squishes his head. The brain flies across the room, and the lead character in Waxwork 2 catches it, goes and drops it. Like it is pure comedy gold.
Wow, that is definitely in the Roger Corman school of Frankenstein movies.
Oh man, Waxwork 2,
Yeah.
like the original Waxwork sucked. So Waxwork 2 is absolutely priceless. It is so funny.
You know, my favorite version of the Frankenstein and monster dynamic, I don't even know who played it, but there was, I think, a TV movie where the monster and the doctor were connected. So with one felt pain, the other felt pain. That was such an interesting concept.
Yeah, I remember this. What the fuck was it?
It was like probably in the 90s.
Yep.
But I can't think of who
that.
played the people or what the title was.
Oh my God, what was that?
It really messed with your brain to think that they
Yeah.
could literally be connected that way. I forget, it had something to do with magnetism or how they did it.
Yeah. It was one of those shows in the 90s where they were trying to get a good series going, and it maybe got half a season before they canceled it.
Yeah, which is too bad because I thought that was a really cool concept.
Yeah, it was like it got more than a pilot, but not a lot. What the hell was
There's an episode of Black Mirror that's kind of like that, where the dude can feel other people's emotions.
Well, there's any number of different representations of Frankenstein's monster. I think we may have opened a can of worms here. So I'm just going to close that can right the fuck back up and proceed.
Okay, that is completely off-brand for this society.
True.
I don't disagree, and I'm still closing the can.
And with that, as Pontifex of Presentment, I confirm that this movie is guilty of Cinemania. May this cursed media be consigned forever to the vault of dangerous knowledge and unsteady devices.
Hey, that reminds me. We really need to sort out our whole vault situation. We need our video store back. We had such a cool vault.
Let it be decided. We need to get our cool vault back too.
It is so recorded. This conclave is hereby concluded.
What did we have in that vault anyway?
Oh, lots and lots and lots of...
So many things.
Leonard Part 6.
So if these evil us's aren't super science flesh freaks, where does that leave us?
Well, I guess we'll just have to think of some other plan.
Now, what about leaflets? Really mean ones.
Just let it go, man. Let it go.
I have a feeling that our plans are going to involve watching more movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as these plans involve more
good
cocktails and more snacks.
Oh,
cocktails and
absolutely.
snacks.
Yeah, I hope so.
Nutter butters, yeah.
Maybe we could get someone else to carry heavy objects around. Oh.
So all we did was figure out how much we don't know about what's going on.
That's about the size of it.
Hit the nail on the head there. We definitely have a firm grip on the sheer amount of stuff we don't have a fucking clue about.
Well, we got to see some hot guys in puffy shirts flouncing around a lake. I mean, that's something, at least.
Oh, yeah. And that means...
Yes.
It means... In that case...
Yeah, go on.
No, I didn't get it at all.
Look, it's a simple story. Boy invents death ray. Death ray sucks boy into past. Boy impresses major romantic figures of the 19th century and has sex with their collective girlfriend. Boy creates monster. Monster usurps boy. Boy shoots monster with a laser and heads off into the icy nightmare of the future.
How many times are they going to rehash that old trope?
Huh. Time travel. Well, you know what they say about that.
Don't you dare. Don't you bloody dare.
What's past is prologue.
That's it. I'm writing a letter, and it's gonna burn you up,
can send
buddy.
that letter. You can send it to P.O. Box My Ass. That's what you can send it.
The Cinemania Society was written, produced, and performed by Andy Slack, Daniel Scribner, Hope Bravo, Ethan Ireland, Andrea Palladino, and Zachariah Burks. Editing and sound design by Ethan Ireland. Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Incidental music and sound effects courtesy of Epidemic Sound and Wikimedia Commons. The Cinemania Society is a work of fiction. Unless otherwise indicated, all of the names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents appearing in this audio play are either the product of the author's imagination or are used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living dead, or actual events is purely coincidental and or part of a work of parody that should not be construed as making statements or allegations of actual fact. All celebrity voices are impersonated unless otherwise stated. The Cinemania Society is available on social media. You can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, or Blue Sky, and our Reddit feed at r/The Cinemania Society. You can also email us at thecinemaniasociety.gmail.com. You, yes you listening right now, please take a second to drop us a line, because not only are we dying for an excuse to do a listener mail episode, we'd genuinely love to hear from you.